Couple data points coming through here to start things off on a Friday morning. Welcome in. S&P Global Composite PMI data expected here coming up at 9:45. Then we'll get existing home sales data for January at 10 o'clock this morning. So a couple of notable numbers along with Michigan consumer sentiment. Remember, there is two separate inflation data points that come along with that, a 1-year and a 5-year inflation expectation. So mark down 9:45 and then 10 o'clock this morning. Those are the biggest two pieces of economic data that we'll touch on for you. Coinbase to the upside this morning in a pretty big way. Brian Armstrong was on CNBC. I don't see him now. Was speaking live. SEC looking at dropping their charges or investigation at least into Coinbase right across the board. Still is pending approval from the SEC, but looks like that's going to come through for them, which is a huge positive here for Coinbase this morning, up 4.6%. Bitcoin also a little bit higher here to start things off on a Friday, which is always good to see. Market, meanwhile, also to the upside, 0.4%. We'll take it after a couple of days that have been a little bit questionable, to say the least, as far as price action is concerned. We'll talk about Rivian. I just saw it right now. Yeah, session lows here for Rivian getting taken out a pretty big way as well. 6.8% right now to the downside. Randy's running around here trying to talk this thing up as desperately as he possibly can. But
you noticed that.
I mean, overall, the report wasn't horrendous, but I don't know. I mean, price action's price action.
I mean, yeah, they did a little bit better. They made some money. I think it was the first time ever they made money, profitable quarter. So good luck. We'll get more into that, obviously. Yeah, but they're going to shut down their plant for retooling for quite a bit of time. So they're expecting fewer deliveries this year. That's not something you want to see with an EV company trying to scale, delivering less cars year over year. We saw Tesla have to do that as well. Lots to talk about today, Brenda. We got China in focus with K-Web already up almost 3%. Tesla with another recall. Apple. Yesterday, Tim Cook meeting with Donald Trump because of these issues with tariffs. And yes, Canada won in overtime. I'm sure the boys will have more to say about it. Neil's already pumped. Katina's not here, but he wore his red shirt yesterday to represent. Not bad.
Yeah, shout out to Sean. I mean, he's been under the weather all week, but was a trooper yesterday, obviously. I mean, if you missed it, Brett Favre was on the show yesterday. So go back, watch that. Probably going to put that out on the weekend. So if you did miss the interview yesterday, we're probably going to put that out on the weekend for everyone to have a second look, because, yeah, a really tough story for Brett Favre. But anyways, I won't spoil anything. Here's Apple. Right now, you were mentioning trying to get back to 250, 245, 246 right now, kind of stuck within the range from yesterday. Positive day, as you mentioned. Tim Cook visiting the White House. I didn't really see anything that came from that.
No, very tight-lipped.
Yeah, very, very quiet as far as results or lack thereof for that meeting. But we'll keep an eye on Apple today with the 16E. I don't know. Tesla positive here, 355, trying to get back to the upside as well. Ugly, ugly day for Tesla yesterday, as you were mentioning. Sean taking the day off today, trying to get better for Monday. Obi's back with us. Good morning, guys.
Obi.
Hey,
good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so
what's going on?
Canada won.
Okay, yeah.
But there was just a headline that I didn't quite make it all out as I was listening to the boys up there. And so here it is. I think it's on Palantir's moving on this. Pentagon 8% budget cut may be false. Like, all I'm seeing is a tweet from Mark Lehman saying it might be false.
Wow.
Like, so that's, I mean, the reason why you're seeing, if you're watching right now, Palantir just moved about $1 higher. Like, that seems to be it. Like, a single tweet or post, I guess you can't say tweet anymore. Post saying that 8% budget cut might be false. I mean, obviously, if that ends up being true, that 110 is going to be a big level for sure. But there's a lot going on, right? I mean, Coinbase might have the SEC off their back a little bit potentially. For sure, UNH has got the DOJ. That's not what you want on their sites. They already have enough bad press as it is, notwithstanding all that other stuff. But yeah, not a good day for them. Not a good day for Rivian. Randy was actually selling us on the report. Like, the first thing, he comes right to the desk when he comes in the morning, and he's like, well, that was a pretty good report for Rivian. And then started talking it up, and the stock's only been going down ever since. So yeah, some strength coming into Palantir here, and wow, Connor McDavid. I can't profess to have stayed awake. I had to catch overtime in the morning, but it was the first thing I did when I woke up. I'm like, oh, because it was 2-1. We were losing 2-1.
Yeah.
When I went to bed. And,
I saw a tweet about it. I think this last night. 11 something?
Either here's
up a little late.
Here's my thing. Like obviously, you know, Canadians are going to be proud about it, and there's some that are going to make it into more than it is. It's a hockey game, and it was a great one. But at the end of the day, I love the fact that like the passion that and the pride that sports can bring out, and just I love the fact that you actually had an all-star game where dudes are out there and they're playing hard and they're giving it their all. It's just cool to see. Shout out to you in the NBA. Maybe you should try doing something like that. Because I'm dead serious. Like I saw PK talking about it. PK Subban, I shouldn't say PK. Like I'm all familiar. He is a friend, but I saw PK talking about it, and he's dead on. If I know you're not an NBA guy, if the NBA said, okay, let's get a World versus USA team, the first time around, the world probably is going to clean their clock because they're all going to come to play. But it'll be like the Redeem team. The second time through, cool, yeah. Watch how quick KD and Kurt and Steph and all those dudes are like balling out of control and giving it their all. That's what, like, you got to see that kind of passion. It's cool to see. But there's going to be a lot to watch here, Obi. Like this Palantir. I mean, if there's any truth to that budget cut thing, Palantir is going to squeeze. Yeah,
we saw the kind of action that happened not just on Palantir, throughout the markets last week with that news of an 8% potential cut. Don't know if the selling was because of that, but astutely timed at the very. I mean, I don't know. We can say it could have been because of that, it could have been because of something else, but the news came out and then the market tanked, and then a lot of these defensive tickers as well. But yeah, definitely, if that news is going to be, what's the right terminology? Taken back, redacted, whatever it is, saying that might not be the case anymore. Maybe we do see a reversion of that move that happened. When was it, on Friday? I think it was on Friday last week there. Or Wednesday.
It is worth considering too. Like we do, like Carp has filed to sell, so there is going to be.
There was that as well.
Well, here's the thing and about that. Like generally speaking, when you get big, large block sells, it tends at some point during the day, and certainly towards the end of a day where one of the blocks happen, you begin to realize, especially that it's true. It doesn't necessarily stop all upward movement. It's not like it's just constant. You usually will get to a day and get to a level, and then you're like, it's a strong stock. You can't get through this, like with Amazon and the 200 and Bezos. So like in the back of your mind, you should be looking out for something like that on Palantir. It's not to say that, every single up move is going to get faded because Carp has a chunk of shares he's going to sell. It's more along the lines of, hey, if you start to notice something a little peculiar on the offer on a day where it's strong, you just want to pay more attention to it and be willing to go short. I think you don't want to overreact to the fact that it's out there.
Yeah, I think Palantir are definitely going to be on watch. Maybe some of those defensive tickers as well. We saw RTX and LMT sell off pretty aggressively as well. But we got some solid earnings names on watch today. CELH I have on watch. UNH with the DOJ hit. That's on watch as well. Of course, SMCI and Palantir. Maybe a little bit of Intel as well. We saw how well Intel held that 25 level, and with potential buyout rumors and a deal on the horizon, it could be an interesting thing. But yeah, leave it up in the chat. What are you guys looking at? What are your top ideas for the day today? And we can definitely take a look at that. Maybe we'll have some confluence with our ideas.
I'm seeing some throwing out the quantum names, QBTS, people like Coinbase. NVIDIA, SMCI, Unity. Oh my goodness, Unity yesterday.
Unity.
Are you kidding me? Unity was the one that got away. It was absolute runner. Yeah, the quantum names are also strong. Lots to watch today, everybody. That's why you got to narrow it down. And I got my list, and it's got CLH on it, it's got Coin on it, it's got Palantir, and it's got NVIDIA. But there's other things to watch. Let's go on back to the desk. It's gonna be a busy one.
We're just talking about this UNH story. Huge move downside here. 11.5% right now. Jumped off a cliff essentially from 500 to 440 on this. DOJ launching an investigation into United Health, probing inflated Medicare diagnosis. So not necessarily on the monetary side, but I mean, you were just talking about another angle for this, but essentially you go in to see a doctor, and instead of walking out with one script, you end up with 5 or 6 or so.
That you don't need, Brendo. And then you end up getting the one you need filled, and then the pharmacy takes the rest there. So it's a bit of trouble. So we didn't get any confirmation from the company quite yet, but the report is that they are under investigation by the DOJ. They're investigating, as Brendo mentioned, Medicare billing practices. The probe focuses on how the company documents diagnosis to receive higher payments for its Medicare Advantage plan, specifically that plan. It obviously raises concerns about UNH and the regulatory risks as well, and definitely taking on the Department of Justice. This is all after, they had an aggressive sell-off as a result of what happened with that Mangione guy.
Yeah, been a rough few months here for UNH, so we'll keep an eye on that. Meanwhile, Michael Noss is here. It's Friday morning, so we're going to wrap up on what he's been looking at as far as the overall market is concerned, as far as a couple of individual sectors are concerned. Mr. Noss, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, and that sector is going to be the healthcare sector. So I'm sitting in the green room and you're reading that news. So we'll see if the charts hold up anyway.
All right. As far as we've been touching on the simple fact that it's not necessarily been tech this year, which has been different. And not only has it not been tech, it's not even been U.S. that's been leading the global equity markets. We've seen other markets around the world at all-time highs, breaking all-time highs, setting new all-time highs, where the U.S. has been lagging. So you've been kind of pounding the table on to make sure everyone is aware of and looking for other areas that are starting to move.
Yeah, and I was just making a note as you said that, because that's a perfect thing to talk about on Monday. I'll do a big country analysis because I think that's a good thing. But you're right. So under the hood, we're seeing a lot of things rotate. The first chart I have is just the S&P 500 showing that, we're still kind of in a chop zone. We tapped new all-time highs a couple times. Fun fact for people who don't know, UNH, again, as I'm hearing that news while I'm in the green room, is the largest component of the Dow. So that may actually hurt the overall performance of the Dow and related markets today. The Dow's price weighted, so UNH is just the biggest part because it's the largest price. Just full disclosure, but Dow, SPY, mid cap, small caps, we're all kind of range bound. But we've noticed a lot of things under the hood. Thankfully, right? I've been talking about UNH, natural gas, that's doing phenomenal. I've been talking about China, that's doing great as well. So we've been looking quite a bit for what sectors are working, even though if you look at kind of the narrative behind what we thought would happen with the Trump administration, it's all the stuff that shouldn't be working that's working. You'd think, right, China with the tariffs, that would be a bad thing as the market continues to rip. You would also think that natural gas, if he's going to allow more drilling, the price of that would go down as well. So it's one of those moments that we can say, okay, let's ignore the narratives and let's look at the charts. So as I was doing this last night, it was healthcare that was looking very interesting. So, I heard a lot of chat that with, RFK is going to do a lot of crackdowns on some of these pharmaceutical companies, and that might hurt healthcare. But we look into this chart and it looks actually very, very nice. So healthcare, again, being one of the largest components of the Dow, which I know the kids today don't watch the Dow, but it's still, in my opinion, one of the most important indexes out there. And you can see just this massive level that I have here on XLV. So XLV is just the proxy that I'm using for that. And that's about 140-ish or so. You can see those prior highs that we were kind of bumping our head against all 21, 22, 23 during the big kind of tech bear market and then recovery. We had a nice steady healthcare sector, broke that, and now we've tested it from the upside a couple times. And I've talked about this with Neil and how this is one of his favorite setups and it's one of mine. This is a monthly chart, so we're talking long term, but I love when a prior resistance area becomes support and vice versa. Into the weekly chart, and it's kind of interesting that we are gaining here on the anchored view app. So this is a setup that I talked about that I run over at Stats Trading all the time on individual names, but so there's no reason why I can't work on sectors as well. And what we're looking for is simply this exact setup where you have a high put in, you put an anchored view app on that, and you kind of say, okay, this is the average price is what this purple line will represent for what would happen if I was buying healthcare at the worst possible time. So if I started buying healthcare at the absolute all-time high, and as we started to come down, and I think a lot of this pullback is doing with the Ozempic plays, but if I was buying it at the worst possible time, that's my average price. And you can see as of now on the weekly chart, with 1 day to go, this may actually change. We are potentially closing above it. So that's what I'm going to look for on the weekly chart, is if we can close above that anchored view app, it just shows a sentiment shift. And it shows that now people are going to be interested again because they're more excited, because if you started to buy at the worst possible time and your account's now turning green, then the people who are actually in there and in there at a better price, well, they're going to be really, really happy. So into the daily chart, you can just kind of see the base that we had. One of my favorite setups is just that little, I call it a bear trap. I've heard a scoop and score or an undercut and rally, whatever you want to call it. But around 145, you can see we spent a lot of time there. We had one day below, and then the last 3 days rallied above. So the reason I like these for these kind of short-term patterns is it shows that basically shorts have got trapped. Anyone who shorted on this breakdown using this anchored view app as resistance and said, okay, this base is going to resolve lower, those people are underwater. Anyone who got stopped out of that position may feel regret and look to get back in. So that's what I like on the daily chart, and the daily chart does look fantastic, again, before this news. But one name, if you don't want to just trade the overall sector, which is one way to do it, especially when it comes to healthcare and pharma, I see people much more comfortable trading the overall sector. But I went in under the hood. Again, something you can do. You can grab the XLV and say, what's in it? Thankfully, I didn't choose UNH. I was looking at GEHC. So there's actually a spinoff from General Electric that is a healthcare company. And just look at this resistance at about $92 a share. Over and over and over again, hit $92 a share. That's been acting as resistance. That makes a trade on this really simple. If you're bullish on healthcare and you think GE is going to be able to benefit from it, it has earnings already out of the way, which is great this quarter. So for me, if we can get a break and a close above, I think 93, 94 bucks, wherever that all-time high is, I'm going to get involved in the name, and then I can use that, a break below that as my stop. It reminds me of that TEM company that broke its all-time high recently and then pushed down. I love all-time high breaks because everyone who is short is wrong and everyone who is long is right. So it's very easy to kind of gauge that sentiment. So if we can get through this resistance, especially on the news that we're getting today, if we can get this resistance next week or so, then I like the look of this guy.
Yeah, it's an interesting chart there. I mean, it's been a long time since we've looked at GE Healthcare, but definitely a lot stronger than I think a lot of people would have noted. UNH, I was just checking, for XLV specifically, UNH is actually the second largest component there at 8.6%. So it's Eli Lilly, which is 12.8, and then 8.6 is UNH. J&J, then AbbVie is number 4. So that being said, definitely time is on your side here, and no one has to rush into anything, right?
Well, and if we start to see healthcare recover, and after this news, to me, that's even going to be more bullish, right? I haven't taken a trade yet, so I'm not married to any position, obviously. But if, as you mentioned, the second largest component in this and the largest component in the Dow is selling off, but everything else is able to recover, and kind of say that it's contained just to this one company, well, to me, that makes me more bullish. So if we get this breakout on GEHC, knowing that the whole index is getting weighed down by this bad news, for me, that's relative strength that I don't really need to look that far for.
And it's 8:49, so we still have an entire day's worth of trading to get through here to see what happens to this chart, which is about to, unfortunately, look like, anyways, it's going to make a new low on the morning. So we'll keep an eye out. For UNH down there, pretty ugly. But again, if anyone missed it, DOJ investigating inflated medical claims, I guess, as far as UNH goes. So anyways, great to see you as always. Have a wonderful weekend, Mr. Noss. We'll see you Monday.
I'll see you guys Monday.
Thank you so much, Michael. And I think one of the best points made there, and
see you guys Monday.
A lot of good points, of course. You got to consider that relative strength, right? Like, obviously, with what's going on with UNH, it doesn't necessarily portend well to things confirming breakouts in the healthcare space today. But anything that doesn't catch a straight today, anything that shows you a little bit of a nice bottom or a good strong hold, like think of it like when the banks all sold, or a lot of things sold off at the open, or the banks sold off at the open yesterday. Like what was a little bit relatively strong within the financial sector? Because UNH right now is bleeding, and this is going to probably, when you get events like this, a lot of times you weed some things out. Like UNH is going to be testing. You get 52-week lows, and you're $4 away from them right now, like 1% away from 52-week lows. You're 8 to 9% underneath the low after the unfortunate shooting. And these are, like, this is a big level down here, 434, 435. Well, it's more like 436. It's an Alamo level, because underneath that, you've got a pretty solid gap. So UNH is going to be on watch. I'm happy to have, what's crazy is I ended up selling this stock. I had it on my long term just, after a lot of, they do business came to light. I was like, well, it's not like it had done bad for me. I was like, I don't want to be in it anymore. And that's turning out to be a good thing. So this is probably going to be a pretty big bellwether day for the sector. You want to see who holds up on a day like this. And flat bottom 100% here on UNH at 435.
Yeah, I think definitely one on watch. Again, not even an SEC kind of an investigation. That's straight up a DOJ investigation. So I think definitely they're feeling the effects of it a little harder than they would on any other kind of investigation. But yeah, UNH definitely on watch for me as well. But I heard people talking about. Again, with respect to energy, my mind goes right to some of the quantum-related energy tickers that we've been kind of watching. OKLO being one of them, and I think NNE as well. So going to be on watch for me as well going into the end of the week. Again, quantum's been kind of moving around as well. So if we are looking at some of these quantum-related names like OKLO and NNE, they've been kind of trending down for majority of the week here as well. So maybe a little bit of a pop, but I'm just gonna keep eyes on IONQ as well. Kind of strong moves that we saw off of RGTI as well, off of that Microsoft Association news earlier on this week. Again, I think it was on Wednesday that came in. The thing is, Softy actually reacted a lot more stronger than any of these other tickers here on that news. You can see right here on Wednesday, this is when that news comes out in and around 11 o'clock on Wednesday. You can see strength consolidation, you basically leg consolidation, leg up, closing near the highs, and we've been holding some of those levels here. Yesterday's day low, 412.59s, and reclaiming VWAP for majority of the day here. So let's see if we get a bit of continuation. That 420 is what I'm watching on Softy. 419.30 is yesterday's high as well. So something I have on watch, Neil. So it could be something. It could be absolutely nothing as well. But hunting for the next trade. These are some of my potential prey.
Oh, you've got to have your prey lined up, locked and loaded, ready to go. Look, like Coin, there's got to be a heck of a lot. PALANTIR is going to be on the move. Just one small cap. A couple of people have asked about Holo. Sometimes I say Holo, but I'm like, whatever. Holo, it doesn't matter. I get it. It's a hologram company, but HOLO. And so I actually just typed it in the chat. Someone's saying they like this gapper. My only issue with this stock, it's a habitual line stepper. You see what I'm saying? Like, this pops, it drops. Pop, and the drops are fierce, and the splits, and anytime it has like a couple of days worth of run, it's a pretty heavy drop. Now, the last little bit, it hasn't really been able to follow through. Like, when has it followed through for a couple of days on a pop? It's not a stock that's generally done it, and that's the thing that I don't usually like about that. Like, there's some resistance at the 200 period, which even if you go back on the daily, right at this high at 165, that's exactly where it turned around today. So you got this little bit of a fade going on. It looks like a normal, hey, but under any normal circumstances, there is resistance before, it's bounced off of it, look for the long. This would be a case where if it's not strong enough to get through the high and show you that it could squeeze, I'm not a huge fan of it. So like it's up 11%, it's doing some volume, like 21%, it's done 11 million volume. But it's kind of a pass for me based on the setup. And we've been more focused on bigger cap names, but this is definitely one that it just doesn't really suit it for me. But if it could take out that 65, it would get some more attention, I think. Boy.
We were just going through Warren Buffett's portfolio here. When was this updated, actually? I'll see if I can find a date. Well, this is as of September, so we're more or less good a couple quarters ago. We were looking at this one, NU down big time this morning. I was just double checking here. His average price in this stock is $13.34. So this hasn't really been, which is basically right here. This hasn't really been a huge hit for Warren Buffett, who still owns, according to this, again, going back to last September, 40 million shares of new holding.
It's quite a bit, Brendo.
Yeah.
So this is, in case you guys don't know what this is, a Brazilian digital banking company from South America. Let's talk about how they did. They reported almost about $3 billion in revenue, 2.99. That was a miss. So the street was looking for a bit more than that. They were looking for 3.29, so they missed on the top line. They were able to meet expectations on the bottom lines for earnings per share, about 12 cents. The street was looking for that. But there was a lot of key performance metrics that they missed on. Active customers, 94 and basically 95 million. That was below the 108 expected by the street. Also, fee and commission income, that came in about $5 million late than 500 million. That was also below expectations. And net interest or net income and gains and losses on financial instruments also missed expectations. So, yeah, decidedly red in the morning here.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot of volume behind this either. It's kind of just chopping around. I mean, man, he owns a ton of Bank of America still. Like 30 billion worth. Jeez. 680 million shares of BAC.
He's been selling a little bit of that.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Rightfully so, I guess. But anyways, guys, thoughts on new here?
Actually, that's a good point about BAC. You always take a grain of salt with Buffett selling things because it matters what the stake is, and when it's that much, a little bit of trimming might not mean as much as you think. But you can't. Ball don't lie. That's pretty much all you can say. The ball don't lie here. And I feel kind of similarly about Rivian today. I was just asked about Rivian in the chat, not making my note, and I'm like, it was close, but I didn't have a short entry plan. And with new, I don't necessarily have a great looking short entry plan for this. And as I was just showing on the daily, it's right on the moving average. And with that as the case, it's kind of a pass for me unless it SSR bounces. If it's underneath like 11.10 in bleeding, like that looks like a better continuation play. But when something is gapped down and essentially at the 50 period or the 200 period moving average, I just typically do not want to be looking short right down there at that theoretical bottom. So for new, I'm not saying I'm not buying it at 12 or anything like that, but I just don't feel like this is a place that I'd want to be short. If it does a big pop up, then a mean reversion into 13 would make a lot of sense, but it's almost like it fell too far in this particular case, and I just don't like where it's trading for an active trade. And you could say the same thing about, Rivian as well, and it's, not the, Rivian, of course, with only one eye in it, in the drop down, and now we got to do it the other way. Here, I'll give you guys the black chart. I'm not waiting 20 seconds for that to load. Rivian, it's a very similar thing. Like, it's just gone right down to, if you pull up the daily, it's going to be support at this 1230 level and a major moving average. So right at that low, I'm not a huge fan of just taking that short. But if it reverts and holds under VWAP or holds under like 1290 back into 13, that would make a heck of a lot more sense. So sometimes you have a plan of action for a stock and it has more to do with the probability of it getting to your level or setting up the way you want in the opening rush, as opposed to, it's in play today or not. Like, yeah, absolutely Rivian's in play, absolutely NU is in play. There you go, now loaded up. But there's, Rivian's right on a support level. So unless you're looking for the SSR bounce long, down 10%, which could be the case, you got to be patient if you're trying to short this thing, I think. Or NU.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you. Something interesting that I noticed, NU Bank, regional bank. Yesterday, a lot of the banks, we were just talking about this, along with the rest of the market, sold off quite aggressively off of the open. You can take a look at JPM, Goldman Sachs, Citibank, Morgan Stanley, BAC, XLF as well. But I'm looking at KRE here because I'm like, NU did not look like this yesterday, right? KRE is a regional bank ETF. Yesterday, it did pretty much the same thing as the rest of the banks there. Slammed strong sell right off of the open. Found a base around midday, but when you take a look at new holdings, yesterday's action did not do that at all. We consolidated. The selling did come in, but it came in off of the earnings report. So maybe we get some. I mean, I'm looking for a continuation. Let's see. Yesterday we kind of talked about some of the tickers that were gapping down. A lot of the pattern that we saw was a little bit of a retracement in the pre-market before we got that continuation to the downside. So maybe we are poised for that 13 retracement, Neil. And yeah, if we do tick back up, that's where these prior, most recent support levels kind of were. I don't know if we're going to get all the way back there, but that continuation definitely looking nice as we are breaking technically. We've already broken this trend that we've been doing, Neil, on a higher time frame. This is a 30-minute chart right here. So just like we do on the minute charts right here, same kind of idea, same kind of action. The trend already broke a couple days ago, and then now we're getting a little bit of a follow through on earnings, to say the least here. So yeah, a little bit of a continuation for NU Holdings. That's definitely on my watch today for sure.
And everything else that's moving around here this morning in the pre-market, we'll kick things off with a look at the market itself.
After making all-time highs the day prior, we sold off a little bit yesterday, but we're trying to go green again here already on the morning. The ES up 0.05. We closed out at 61.37. We're already above it currently, with the overnight high being 61.41. So if we catch a bid, we're looking at that 60.50 level. If we clear 60.50, we're looking at those all-time highs at 61.67 as resistance, as support. We're looking for that same level that we bounced off yesterday. 6,100.
If you haven't done so yet, jump down to the description of this video. Top link in the description will get you to that page. And then all you need is your email address, and you can have the watch list for free. Comes out every single day before we come on at 8:30. Lots to know this morning, so let's get right into it here. Coinbase is trying right now, actually, to get going once again. Stalled out just above 270 there on the initial push. Brian Armstrong on CNBC this morning. It looks like the SEC, pending approval, will completely drop their investigation into Coinbase that dates back to, I want to say the beginning of last year. This has been happening for quite some time. So nice pop here for coin. Crypto, obviously strong too.
Yeah, well, it's a good bid there, Brendo. Obviously, getting that monkey off their back, so to speak. So here's what we're doing. They reached an agreement with the SEC staff. This still has to be voted on by the SEC Commission. So we haven't heard anything from the SEC quite yet. Brian Armstrong took to X and also went on CNBC, calling it a full dismissal with 0 fines and no required business charges. As I mentioned, it needs approval. He also mentioned that Coinbase reluctantly, but actually had to spend tens of millions of dollars in order to defend themselves here. He also claimed that the SEC used mafia tactics and pressuring other firms to avoid working with Coinbase. And even though, there seems to be, this propensity by the courts, Brendo, to favor government regulatory bodies and, the dissatisfaction that some shareholders have when you initiate litigation, because it's a bit of an undecided issue. He went along with it anyway, so give credit to him.
Yeah, and was super patient about it too. Just heads up, Hims flying around here. This wick actually just traded. I was sitting here watching it. It's actually going down now. So Hims announcing a acquisition, it looks like, I just threw it up on the screen there, of a peptide facility in the US. Doesn't actually say for how much or where or anything of that nature, but Hims now downside in a pretty big way.
Yuck. Oh my goodness. That was 2 seconds ago. That was breaking out in a big way. Now it's absolutely flushing. Oh, they must not like this one. It's that's a lot of trapped longs in here on Hims. Yeah, what was it? They essentially bought a peptide facility. You guys saw the headline right in there. Didn't see any terms or any more details on it. So be able to digress, to be able to try to figure it out on a fundamental level, not even to bother being able to do that. 60 was a prior support, but I think when you see a reversal like this, my first thought is you've trapped longs, go the other way. So look at the prior close, 66. Let's one calm down. Not a lot of liquidity right now, but plenty of volume. I like Coinbase, and wow, you didn't know Hims was going to have that news come out. That's what the market is all about here. Oh, yeah. But on Coin, it just looks relatively strong. You got Bitcoin approaching 100K again, so it's a couple of days worth of, or a day and a bit of a rally in Bitcoin, but you didn't even have that much positive in Coin. But what I love about that, kind of like a reverse head and shoulder look right now. 2 days ago, you had Wednesday support at 58. That was resistance yesterday. That's pre-market lows right now. We're gapping up on news. So SEC, be a man, do the right thing, and then we'll all be. No, I don't know. I got Russell Peters. Yeah. He's a Canadian comedian, and I'm feeling Canada today after the win. So we're gonna drop some references. I'll try to work some Fire Marshal Bill in there for Jim Carrey. But no, seriously, on Coin, I'm really only looking long Coinbase today. So there's a few levels. Obviously, you can kind of look at prior highs here at 263, 264, like that range. And then right in here is like a 266, which is already set up. Could also just break it out. Although I don't like breakouts in Coinbase.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, breakouts have never been that great for me on Coinbase. Dip buy is always better.
I think it's kind of already breaking out right now, Neil. So since earnings, again, earnings was last Thursday. We ran up into earnings here, broke that 300 mark on the earnings report there. Very strong close on earnings eve as well. But since then, we've been pretty much selling off back to back. Monday was a holiday. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you can see right off of the open, strong selling every single day. Today, a little distinctly different on this catalyst. So it should be interesting. Bit of a trend break here as well happening already. So this is what I mean. It's already breaking out with this morning's price action, not really holding with this trend. Again, this trend may be a little significant because this is the trend we've been holding since the earnings report here. So let's see if we can finally catch a bit and maybe revert a piece of this move. We're almost 50%. We're almost at that 50% reversion. I'll be watching for that 375. Some of these prior day highs where the selling came in aggressively could be interesting. We're just testing Wednesday's highs as of right now in the pre-market. But can we get up to Tuesday's highs, which lie in and around that 780? 280 mark, 279-ish are the highs there. And that consolidation from Friday as well, just very, very strong. Maybe a little bit of a supply zone just underneath that 280. Let's see if we can get up there. Only about 10 points away here on Coinbase. Very, very strong. Doing some relative volume. I have here, what is that? Roughly 8 times? Or no, sorry, that's 3 times. So just over 3 times relative volume here on a 5-period. Relative volume indicator on Coinbase. So let's see if we can get that continuation. Those are some of the key levels I'll be watching on Coinbase today.
Tesla trying to get back to basically where it started this morning. Still positive, but just 0.1% right now. I mean, this is a non-story. Once again, 380,000 Model 3s and Model Ys. They've already sent out the fix over-the-air software update for this, so yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I was just kind of joking to Sharif here saying it's funny how they now buy Tesla recalls. Every time there's one of these software fixes that is needed, the stock goes up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. My iPhone seems to get recalls every couple of days, Brendo, updating the software there. No, I'm just joking, of course. So it's a loss of the power steering assist. Specifically, it happens when the vehicle stops and then starts to accelerate again. As you mentioned, Brendo, an OTA over-the-air software update already being launched. Specific models that are affected by this are the 2023 Model Y and Model 3. In 2024 alone, just to give you guys some history here, Tesla issued 15 recalls affecting over 5.13 million vehicles, the great majority of which were taken care of with over-the-air software updates. So you got to like that. Definitely save some money from their side.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're back in the one positive maybe. We're back in that range of that 350, 355 support area. If you go back to this part on the daily chart, where we held the past couple of days. So whether this ends up being support or not, once again, we'll see today.
I think you nailed it there, Brendo. Tesla, it is kind of a non-story. That's fine, but Tesla also has been. You can't call it a non-story based on the actual amount that it moves. But if you look at the week, I think it's pretty clear to see what we've been doing this week, which has just been at some point, almost every single day, selling into 348, 350. And then that's kind of been the bounce zone. And then there's just, you can't seem to break away from 364. So that's your range. It's range bound. And when it's range bound like that, unless it's a very clear sign that you're holding a new level, like look at what we broke out from on Wednesday, right? Like right in here, 355 and then resistance yesterday. Okay, well, if this consolidation resolves in breaking out, then join longs trending into 364 or something like that. But as long as that's unresolved, wait for the low to be tested, and if it holds, that's where the long is on Tesla. You know, I feel like try to keep it simple. If a range-bound stock, you should be patient, waiting for the best prices. There's a lot that's going to new places today, for lack of a better term. And I think that's where a lot of times you want to start for the explosive moves, and for everything that lies, that's like Tesla, it can be a little bit of a waiting game. If you were patient enough to wait yesterday or at any day this week for it to break 350 to go long, then you're rewarded with a good trade. And there's probably a lot of chop that's been happening on Tesla otherwise.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Neil, with that one. Right away, that level stands out very, very obviously here. And yeah, as soon as you said that, I threw up an alert at that 49.90 here. You can see that every single day. We do visit this price. Maybe I should move it up a little bit there, just making sure that we get the action that did come in on all day. So yeah, 350 half. So yeah, in and around, give or take a point around that 350. Tesla's been coming in there for the past 3 days, 4 days technically, but yeah. Let's see if we can come back in. I threw my alert up in there so that I know if and when Tesla does come into that 350 area, I will take a look at it. Doesn't mean I'm going to take an execution right away, but I do want to see what it's doing. If it starts to do that little bit of a turn that like we've been seeing 3 out of the past 4 days here, maybe even 4 out of the past 5 days, you can see that every time it does come up here and then turns, it's been a pretty decent, at the very least, scalp there off of that 350 mark. So yeah, 350, definitely an interesting level. Range bound indeed, like Neil said, 360s, 362, 365s, a lot of potential upside, but the level that comes in a lot more often than some of these highs, which are a little bit all over the place, is that 350. So I'll be watching for that 350 on Tesla. Again, I've been saying this all week. If you guys have been here watching, 350 is a bit of an over/under for me. And it is kind of breaking a higher time frame, just slightly higher time frame downtrend break. Like this is the one we're talking about, that black line being an anchored VWAP from the highs and then taking this kind of a trend from some of those highs that rejected off the anchored right there. And we were just consolidating sideways since then, since that trend break happened on last Friday, actually. So 350, bit of an interesting level on Tesla.
I think you need a few more indicators there, Obi.
Hims is getting
Obi. I'm not sure there's enough on there.
It's like a topographic. It's like a
wow. Okay.
It's like a mountain.
Block. Day lows. At this point, it was another loss. 71 cents versus 87. That was the standout as far as the report goes. Lots of analysts with opinions on this. This morning, the thing that stood out to me, I was just saying to you, like $6 billion in sales. Yeah. That's not a small number.
No, it's not, and they missed because the street was looking for 6.3. So yeah, as you mentioned, Brendo, EPS missed handily. Revenue, sadly, also missed handily there, despite revenue growing 4.5% year over year, up from 5 3/4. Some of these financial metrics, gross profit was able to increase 14%. Gross payment volume beat estimates, so the amount of money that they processed through their system, about almost $62 billion. The street was looking for 61.3. Not a bad look there. Now they're also expanding their business mode here. They want to grow from just point-of-sale transactions. They want to get into lending and financial services. They acquired, we'll recall, Afterpay for $29 billion back in 2021. Brendo, they want to integrate that now into their Cash App, so we'll keep an eye out on that. Some of the other stuff that they're doing over here, they're trying to build the Cash App a little bit more. It posted a decent move here for the amount of revenue it generated, $1.3 billion, which was up 16% year over year. Jack Dorsey saying he wants to merge Cash App and Square into one financial ecosystem. So we'll have to keep tabs on that. And then last but not least, they have a Bitcoin mining project here that they're starting. It's called Proto Open Mining System. They're going to manufacture chips apparently in order to do that, and he's expecting the mining to start, Brendo, second half of this year.
We'll see. Apparently he's very excited about it as well. Just FYI, Hims still going. Another day low there for Hims, guys.
Absolutely.
There's a pun in there where like no one's going to be singing hymns about that chart, or maybe that they should sing some hymns. But wow, that's nasty.
Oh boy.
Well, you got to be a hater, Fabian. Oh, it's like that? Fabian, okay, Fabian, it's going to be a long one. Ramin would have liked that one, and she would have not hit that. Block. Where do we start with Block? It's not great. The block's not hot. The good news is you're at $74 right now. So this is a daily chart here, because when you change to XYZ in our platform, you don't get any data from before when it was a reasonable ticker. But there is some, in theory, you got the 200 period here at 74, but then you also have a nice like an earnings bottom at like 71.5, 72. So for block, that's where I'd look for the potential SSR bounce. There's just enough weakness that I don't know how much you want to catch, like in the general of falling knife. And this is yet another name that when we did the aftermarket show, I was on with Sharif before I had to leave, I was sort of thinking that 80 level, we talked about that, like the over-under was 80 for me. Well, you're not shorting off that level today unless something ridiculous happens. But with that not a possibility, it's just closer to that support on the daily. Like either it's SSR bounce off right away, 74 at the 50 period on the daily, or you get down on the daily to that 70, 71 area and then look for a reversion play. Because I don't know that it trades up close enough to 80. Maybe there's a play off of 76 you can work with. It's just not going to be top of list. I think, obviously like Coin, we'll be trading. I think we'll be trading that. Ideally, we'll be trading some C. Can I do, you know what? Before we throw to you, Obi, I just realized we're not talking about Celsius at all. Yeah. I'm just going to throw out Celsius now because it just occurred to me that we didn't really say anything about this yet. Celsius, big short float. I don't care, this Alani whatever that they're buying, I've never heard of that brand for Celsius, so I don't know anything about it. What I do know is it's a 21% short float that tanked at first when they released their numbers and then ripped faces off and is gapping higher. And the daily chart looks like this. So this is a prior high at 32.5, 33. As long as it holds that off the open, I'm looking for longs on Celsius. And if it doesn't break underneath that low, I'm looking for longs into the bid on CELH. Just wanted to throw that one in there. I know a lot of people are watching that. Thank you very much, Randy. None of us wore red. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's go.
Boom. Connor McDavid. Beast. How we do? It's our sport. It's our sport.
I heard you had some things to say about Rivian earlier. Oh boy.
Are we on?
All right.
I liked the report last night. Between the periods of the game, I was on Reddit just going over the details. Okay, we got a bit of a shutdown in Normal, Illinois, which is normal. It is what it is.
Ordinary.
Boo. The only plant they have, Atlanta, is still more than a year away. But if they can get the R2 out the door.
But isn't that the problem? Okay, so the big number that they missed on was the delivery.
Right, and they're going to have lower deliveries potentially this year because of the shutdown to retool for the R2. However, 66,500 Canadian. I want to see reservations. I think we got a hit on our hands. And I like the underlying numbers. Their cash burn's getting slower.
Well, that's usual.
They've streamlined their supply chain. The vehicle costs are coming down. They're getting there. There's a lot of positivity here. So the market was a bit muted. After hours had a bit of a spike.
Not anymore, it's not.
Yeah. So, give it time. But I really liked the report last night. I'm happy about it.
There you go. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it. And that's sort of the thing. Like, there's the fundamental aspect of it. There's the trading aspect of it, which, oddly enough, we can talk about next because it's Rivian.
Yeah, I just want to.
XYZ.
I forgot that they changed their name here. A Block. Interesting ticker. Again, one of the tickers on watch for earnings on the day, getting a little bit sold off here. But yeah, we've been pretty much sideways for the past couple of months. So this breakdown of this sideways consolidation, we haven't seen some of these prices since prior earnings. So that's going to be interesting. Again, looking for that continuation here on Block. Definitely one of the top names.
This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Foremost Energy. Unlock the nuclear renaissance with Foremost Clean Energy, leveraging one of the biggest mega trends on the planet. Nuclear energy, partnered with Denison Mines, with properties strategically located throughout the Athabasca Basin, known as the Saudi Arabia of uranium. This undervalued company is poised to capitalize on the exploding nuclear market and offers unparalleled growth potential. The future is nuclear. Foremost is your entry on the NASDAQ, FMST, or here in Toronto on the CSE, FAT is the symbol. Go to foremostenergy.com for more details. Let's talk about Rivian, as the guys were just mentioning. 7.3%, trying to bounce right now. As the guys just said, I mean, it was the forecast, the delivery forecast missing.
Well, yeah, because they got to shut down. So it's going to be a bit of an issue here. Let's talk about how they did. So gross profit, first time ever, Brendo, that they turned a profit of $170 million there. Not a bad look. That's kind of where it all ends a little bit there. Loss per share of 46 cents, beating the street's expectations of 65 penny loss. Revenue came in nicer than expected, about 1.73. The street was looking for 1.4 billion. So not a bad look there. Now let's talk about the forecast. That's kind of what we're down for here. They're expecting to deliver about 46,000 to 51,000 vehicles. Compare that to what they delivered this past year, about 51,600 vehicles. So that's a bit of a drop there. Adjusted losses narrowing down from from 2.7 billion to about 1.7, so not a bad look there. Capital expenditures as they continue to grow, expected to be about 1.6 to 1.7 billion in 25. But we want to talk about this R2 because this is really what's going to move the needle for them here. So the R2 is their midsize SUV expected to launch in 2026. They will have to idle their plant in Illinois in the second half of 2025 for retooling for this R2, hence why the deliveries are coming a little bit low. And last but not least, their strategic growth drivers, Brendo. This has become a software company as much as it is a car company, a hardware company. They made about $300 million in regulatory credits. About $214 million came from software and services, especially with their joint venture with Volkswagen.
If you zoom out a bit on the higher time frame, 1250, pretty good level here. It's trying to hold currently, guys, for Rivian.
Better hold, man, because I'm out of. I don't. Level. Whatever, man. Like it's been great at $10 on Rivian. That's been the level to buy. If there is, to the extent that there has been one, let's put it that way. To the extent that there has been one, it's been right in around the 10 level, or when it holds a 50 period and gets above, it's usually been like 11. But the support's down at around $10. I think if it loses, I don't want to be in waiting around. If it loses 12, I think to have gotten some profit off this the second time through when taking on the first time is a gift. But if we lose this 12 level, then it does mean that we've gone SSR and blown through it. So like it's about 12.20. It'll be 10% down, which lines right up with that support line. So you kind of know where I'm going with this. Like, look at the support at 12.20. If it gets there, it is short sell restricted, where I'm usually looking for an SSR bounce. So that's probably the only early trade, unless you get, like, I wanted to be bearish on this thing and shorting into 13. I think that's exactly the same thing we said about, NU as well. But yeah, SSR bounce off 12, that 12.20 area. That's pretty much the look on Rivian. Don't want to make it too complicated.
Yeah, I think that again, Brendo pointed out as well, that 1250, 12, just shy of that 1250 area, a bit of a shelf consolidation for, I guess, a good month now, January 23rd to February 13th here, a bit of a consolidation. We're coming in to test some of those areas here. Let's see if some of that support continues to stay as support right away. 1226 kind of showing up as the most recent low there. Currently trading at 1265 is this low right here. Bit of a potential. I mean, if you want to take a look at it as a head and shoulders, maybe a failure to follow through of that range, whatever you want to call it. That low is sitting at 1189. So that $12 level definitely interesting. Let's see if we can get that continuation, Neil, on this earnings report. Again, Randy saying the earnings report wasn't too bad. Price not really reacting too positively to it as of right now, but coming right into the low of that range, so that could definitely be a little bit of a look here. And in terms of, you said it's almost SSR. Well, it's almost SSR right now. These lows coming in at roughly, I guess, 9% down, roughly 9% down from prior day's close. So almost hitting that SSR mark, but just not yet. So Rivian's definitely going to be on watch, as that SSR could come in right at the bottom of that range. That's some confluence for sure.
It could happen right away, yeah.
UNH, if anyone's just joining, a lot of people are. DOJ investigation here into United Health, probing accusations of inflating Medicare diagnosis. Back to 440 here right now. We're actually about to test the lows again, back to 12%. Here we go again for UNH.
Yeah, so I don't know any of the details other than what was reported here, but I was telling you off camera, this is a very well-known thing in the medical field of overbilling and billing for things that are not required. So the Department of Justice is investigating its Medicare billing practices, as you mentioned, Brendo. Specifically, what we're talking about here is how the company documents and diagnoses to receive higher payments for a specific group here, the Medicare Advantage plans. So obviously, this creates a bit of a regulatory headwind, as now you've got the DOJ breathing down your neck. Not a good look after your stock's already been down heavily on the year.
Yeah, it's not been a good couple of months. That is for sure for United Health Group, guys. I mean, maybe some sort of bounce type of play here. I don't know. What are you thinking?
I'm not necessarily feeling the long on that one. Just very quickly, I mean, that's not a lot in terms of imbalance. We'll get some more at 928, but there's probably some people watching QBTS in the quantum space, 600,000 to the buy side. You got NU as a sell of 500,000. There's the big one. Alibaba, 450,000 to the buy side, and trading like it wants to test the 140 level, super strong name lately. So we'll keep an eye on those. But UNH, VWAP, anybody? Like, you look at the daily chart, and it's not good. It's not good. There's nothing good about it. Can't pretend. You got the 52-week low sits, 1% away here, and there's a very good chance you're testing that. The gap is tremendous at this point. Back into just the chances that we even get a chance to fill this gap are pretty slim. So I don't think you're looking at 470 like you might have been an hour ago. I think just VWAP if you're trending to the downside, because I'm not looking long this thing. I'm not thinking bounce. Like, I'd rather take a shot bouncing on, like as we said, like Rivian's got a support level that it could hold on to a bounce off of. The report wasn't all that bad. It was just, a couple of things amiss there. Like, that's a much more reasonable place for me to look for a long as opposed to UNH. Even though 10% down, I just don't even care about that. With a story like this, I wouldn't want to be going in the other direction. Like, the sentiment, it's not, like the space isn't liked right now. Certainly, it's a sentiment shift. You had some strength trying to come into the group, and all of a sudden this happens. So I feel like even if people wanted to be in the healthcare space, they're probably looking for an exit here and wanting to buy strength elsewhere. So I don't want to be on the bid of UNH. We'll just have to look at VWAP for some kind of retracement. But with CLH, Palantir, Rivian, Coinbase out there, NVIDIA, like those ones are going to be top of list for me, not UNH.
Yeah, I think no, it's not. I think that 500 break came in on that news. We were consolidating, kind of trading above that, and all of a sudden, straight quadunk through that 500, trading at almost $60 lower there, with a low of 437.71 on UNH. But taking a look at this is a little bit of a continuation of a bigger picture kind of sell-off that we've been having since December of 2024. You can see that strong selling. Again, UNH, I think the selling potentially coming in off of the shooting of the CEO. I think it was in and around there. Might have been in and around there, but yeah, even through earnings right here. So we were holding up that 500 pretty well, even after that strong sell-off in December. But yeah, a strong flush as of right now on a DOJ hit on UNH. So taking a look at the bigger picture, let's see what levels we're coming into right here. So prior lows right away, a little bit of a demand area. Wow, back to back. So this was a bit of demand in 2022, and then once again in 23, and then once again in 24. Let's see if it happens once again in 25, Neil.
Once again, let's go quickly to the desk before we have the open.
Very timely here because we were just talking about UNH. I just saw a headline popping out here. Apparently, United Health is calling that Wall Street Journal report about the DOJ investigation, quote, misinformation. So United Health saying that this DOJ investigation is not true and is, in fact, misinformation. Back to you with a minute before the bell.
Okay, I'm going to be hands-off UNH at the open. So how about just that simple? I don't want to be like, hey, let's go shorting VWAP. Well, if there's a question about the story, I'd rather just back off. You have way too much that's available to trade today. We know what Celsius is doing. We saw the report. We saw Alani something. I believe Alani New. That's the name of the name of the acquisition. So that's going to be at VWAP. You have a 32.5, which is a big support level. If it holds that, I think it's a chance to grip and rip. Rivian, wow, Rivian's already bouncing pretty nicely. Maybe we don't get a shot at that 1220 level there on Rivian. You got Palantir, which is breaking back down underneath 108. As there was some talk that maybe they're not cutting as much. And the bell brought to you by Foremost Clean Energy. Shout out to them. Adara, ring it in 2 and 1. Foremost FMST on the NASDAQ. So Rivian already making a little bit of a bounce here. Celsius trying to track lower. The other thing you should have on your mind today, well, I mean, you can trade things that move if you want to, is don't forget what happened to Hims, making an Hims actually right back at the low, 19% to the downside and continuing lower. It's looking very ugly for Hims. Crazy reversal, probably trapped some longs in there. So Palantir's heading down. There's a test already of Celsius down to 33.
I don't like the spread on Celsius right now.
It's whoa, yeah, it's a 20-cent spread.
It was just 50 pennies just a second ago right off of the open.
Yeah, there's no,
I'm gonna let that settle down.
No,
let that come into anchor. Anchored's sitting at $32, Neil. So I think we can be patient for that anchor.
Yeah, that doesn't look very healthy.
31.50, 32.50, depending on where you're anchoring it, the earnings reaction versus the volume that actually came in on CLH. A little bit of discrepancy between those two events, but yeah, no, just going to be patient for that CELH to potentially come in. Palantir though is pushing its highs right here. 109's incoming as of right now. I'll waiting for that Celsius to come in here into that 32. What else do we got? The block is not hot right now. Rivian's still holding its downtrend as well. What else do we got on here? I was telling Neil, I was like, oh boy, there's a lot of tickers that are on watch. TXN as well. Texas Instruments has been having a very strong run. That's on its way up. 205.65s currently right now. But like I've been saying all week, I'm going to stay patient for the right kind of opportunities. Next week is one of the bigger earnings, and NVIDIA is definitely something I am more than willing to put some risk on. What's up, Adara?
Just be aware here, some Chinese ADR is pretty strong off the open. One of them is Alibaba, hanging out here above that 144 level. And then we have Li Auto. Basically, a lot of the strength in this Chinese ADR space has to do with the Chinese tech bull run recently. So we know that the Hang Seng Index did very well yesterday, continuing to make these 3-year highs. Check out Li, Baba, and all of these Chinese tech names. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Just getting a whole bunch of TradingView alerts right now. Okay, so
XYZ's popping. I want to get a fade in that if I can, but not yet. Celsius is still going to be on the mind. Like Celsius a lot here, and it did just break. It just broke 33, tracking into that 32.5. That's where I wanted to try and grab. That grab is also on the move. So if we don't get a retest in 32.5, don't mind taking this on like a V shape if it can hold VWAP. But as long as it's weak, we'll have to be patient and wait for that bid to start to come in. Here is Palantir, everybody. That tried to break out and a little bit of a fade. So this is the worry. Remember, we didn't break 110 yesterday. 110 was that big anchored. We didn't break it. We fell from here. If you don't break out the 110, I don't want to be looking at any long that isn't a deep reversion long. So I want to see this breaking the 110 level. Otherwise, we have to, like I said, we have to be a little bit patient with it. Rivian's definitely a missed opportunity, though. As that one, it's already at 13, so you had to take this in the pre-market clearly. Adara?
Beware of CrowdStrike here. CRWD, this one dropped around 9 a.m. I'm just seeing some talks here in the Catalyst about this. So back in 2023, there was an agreement between CrowdStrike here for a $32 million deal here with Carasoft. Basically, through this deal, CrowdStrike was going to be selling cyber tools to the IRS. However, we first heard reports of this back in 2024. Now more reports that we're going to get an investigation here from the DOJ and the SEC because the IRS actually is showing zero evidence of having bought this software, even though Carasoft is paying CrowdStrike on time. So basically, long story short, Bloomberg reporting that the DOJ and the SEC are investigating this CrowdStrike Carasoft IRS deal because it doesn't seem like the IRS is actually getting the software it's allegedly paying for. Back to you.
Boy. Here's the 32 mark on CELH, and we are CELH, and we are cracking lower aggressively. Let me pull up the tape for you guys here, because I know some of the tape on the main screen is it tends to get kind of delayed here. So CELH, this is the book right here on CELH. 31.74 is a little bit of reserve. Wow, that reserve breaks and drops down another 30 pennies. Now there's an offer.
Oh, that's nice.
Offer on the ask right there. So let me just actually, I gotta highlight this right here for you guys. Boom, boom, boom. There it is, above 99. So there you go. There's it highlighted. And
Halted.
CELH is halted to the downside. Absolutely wild.
What?
That is crazy.
Was that?
That is crazy.
That's not enough.
Halted down. That is absolutely beautiful.
Hold up.
This is very interesting, Neil. This is the first time that I've seen an earnings opening drive halted down. So,
you know what?
Oh boy.
I don't mean to be speechless, but that seems a little fugazi. It didn't look like it shouldn't have been at the band already, but it is halted. So I'm assuming it's going to be a volatility halt. I was about to double check if it was a volatility halt, but this is the cost of looking at CELH for the mean reversion was kind of, like Rivian pulled right into that 13, right into that prior high. I tried to get on the way back down here, but Rivian pulling back, it ran like a buck from the open and then pulling right back in. So we tried to grab that one to the south side. NVIDIA is breaking out, by the way. So CELH, volatility halt. The tap on CELH is 30.40. So it's indicating $1 lower on CELH. You've got NVIDIA running. Now, I liked NVIDIA a little bit deeper on a dip, but we only want NVIDIA longs given the strength that we've seen off of some of these bids. So it is looking pretty strong. Have to look back at VWAP. Yeah, not the price action I was expecting on CELH, unfortunately, but it's a nasty, nasty one. That should be a 5-minute halt, everybody. I'm expecting CELH will open up orderly in 5 minutes.
This is very, very.
So you just gotta, you gotta look for the next opportunity. I feel like we might have had a shot at NVIDIA, but you know, I was looking somewhere else, and we were looking at CELH, and that was the first place I wanted to trade today, and it's just not going to happen. PALANTIR, got to move on to the next. PALANTIR, again, trying to test this high, and without breaking it, so it's not getting to 110. It's halting at, it's stopping at 109. I shouldn't say the word halting. It's stopping at 109. If we cannot break this out, I only want to look short setups under 110, and if you can break 110, then look long. So nothing's really hitting the levels, with the exception of that Rivian curl, which we weren't able to grab and just wasn't fast enough with it. But that's all right. We can be patient with it. We still have a couple more minutes until CELH opens back up. Now the tap is a more reasonable 31 even, it's indicating on
That's
Celsius.
easy, right?
So now up 23%.
That is yeah,
that was nasty, man. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, I think some of the guys talking about how that wasn't even a 10% drop, and I was like, maybe they're taking prices off of 9 o'clock. They're like, no, you don't take prices before the open, but the market's coming in real hot, and CELH is a momentum. It's a LUD piece.
Yeah, it's a
LUD piece. So limit up, down.
I mean, volatility halt.
I forget what the P stands for, but the LUD is limit up.
The market's tanking right here.
I'm pretty sure, but the market is definitely tanking to the downside here. Let's see what is looking distinctly different. Hims continuing to push lower. $50 coming in on Hims right here. So $50, an interesting potential level here, but I wasn't even looking at it, so I'm not even going to pull it up as of right now. But
PALANTIR's about to break the low.
Maybe some opportunities on hand. What's up, Adara?
UNH actually bouncing pretty nicely here, even as the market falls. In case you missed it, initially we did have some reports here from the Wall Street Journal suggesting that there is going to be a DOJ, or there is a DOJ investigation into UNH, specifically its Medicare practices. Then right before the open, UNH comes out and they say that this report is, quote, misinformation. So bit of a bounce here at the open for UNH. Also be aware we have some economic data today at 9:45. So in about 5 minutes, we're going to be getting S&P services, manufacturing, and composite PMI. Then at 10, we're going to get probably the more closely watched number, the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment. Key among these is going to be the 1-year and 5-year inflation expectation prints as part of this number. We know that those did push the market down last time when they came in higher than expected. So stay tuned. 10 a.m. and then 9:45. Back to you.
to break the low at 107 here. It tried to break the high. It couldn't do it, so we're still underneath the 110 level. If we're underneath 110, it's short setups only, so either maybe we get a VWAP one or we break out this low. We've got pretty much a few seconds here until CELH opens up. Palantir might break this 107 like right away, but CLH should open up in just a little bit. If it doesn't open up in like the next little bit, then that's going to mean CLH is like a 10-minute halt instead of a 5-minute. But I'm expecting it's going to open up orderly in a couple of seconds here. So Palantir broke the low. You've got support in theory down at the 105 level, and we saw what it did with this at the open yesterday. You had 105, 106, or 106 was the support level earlier. So CLH is open.
Opens at 30.
And opens at $30 on CLH. Sorry, I'm just going to get an order out here on Palantir to scalp them out, and then take you guys over to CELH Celsius. Opens at 30 and actually running higher. Ooh, this could be an interesting, if it tries to relief rally through the pre-market. It's all about that halt level, I think, Obi. If it can break back out the halt level, you can squeeze. Otherwise, they are rugging CELH right now, and the market now red. So the NASDAQ is red.
Does the ticker have like a
CLH,
20% short float?
Nasty, 20.3 or 20.4% short float here on CLH.
Boy.
Well, I can tell you this much. The shorts are laughing to the bank. They did not hold many bids, except for that 30 level starting to hold right now, Obi. Just one quick update. Palantir, which is the only thing we got in, broke that 07. Now remember, there's theoretical support down here at the 105 level, so I'd like to see it maybe push through that, but we scalped the first out of it. We're going to look to see if it can get down to that 105 and then take some profit on it. NVIDIA is still looking strong, but with the market coming in the way it is, I want to be sure that we get a good buy opportunity. I want to dip buy in NVIDIA today, but when you're doing this off the open, you don't want to be too early buying dips. So let's just stick with the one short. Palantir now a buck, and hunting for that 105 level here on Palantir. CLH is holding 30 pretty decently here, Obi.
Yeah, no, I'm watching it. I hesitated punching into it a couple of times because I'm like, I keep seeing these continuous wipes into the bid, and I'm like, I don't know. But you know what? It's okay. I'll be a little bit more patient here, but we did reclaim that 31 as of right now. That was a good long as of right now, as we held and stalled some at some of those prices at 30.50. Here we go, breaking back through that halt.
Whoa, what a bid!
So yeah, absolutely wild. Let's see if we can get there. This is in and around that anchored VWAP from earnings as well, right? We're doing some interesting action just orbiting around that anchored as well on CELH.
Oh, but you're not gonna. This doesn't make logical sense. But there was a bid of like you saw that when it levitated on CLH up like almost $1. It was hard to even see. At the exact same moment, and I'm telling you, was at the exact same moment, Palantir bounced 105.30 right to 106. And like we slammed back down. I was like, okay, let's take this one out. I actually wanted to go over to CLH in a second, but I just punched out of Palantir when it bounced off the target area, like I showed you. I wanted to break here, and I wanted to, if it bounces there, I'm going to get out and hunt for the reshort. I am in Rivian off of 13, and if we bounce in Palantir, I'll short it again. But that CELH is absolutely wild. If you halt down and break this out, it's over. Like that would be nasty. It's a pretty bullish move to halt down and then take out the top. So if it can maintain some higher lows in here, this gets pretty exciting. It's not there yet. I mean, we're not even at VWAP on Celsius, but you're now right back above that key price level. Wanted to see strength at 32.5, 33.
Oh boy.
If we show that, let's go. It's not yet. I think it's an opportunity, but don't want to throw everything away on a downward trending stock just because it has a short float, right?
Yes, no, I think that's true. Another ticker that I'm watching while I wait for CELH to settle down here is Unity. Unity also consolidating as well. Shout out to Sharif for having that trade. I saw him. He was getting excited, and I was like, oh wow, are we about to halt up? We're about to halt up. Oh, that was a halt band right here on 3270s. If we hit that once again, we are going to halt up on CELH there, but we did pull back a little bit here. Absolutely exciting stuff here. Did not expect that kind of action on something like CELH right off of the open here. Here's the 70s again. The halt band is at 75s right now, I think, but with the way it's kind of holding on the offer, it might just be. See, the thing is, we don't have those halt bands, but again, halt.
It's at the band right now.
This is the halt band. Yeah, this is very distinct tape. This is what a halt band looks like when you're hitting it. It's all.
Come to me. This is what it looks
Nobody
like.
can. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like it's easier to see right here.
Boom,
It's going to
boom,
go
boom.
into
It's
a
gonna
halt at
right there. There's the
32.74.
halt. There's the halt.
So this is gonna.
Right
This
there.
might
You
end
still
up.
in?
This might end up pretty simple, because depending on where we open up on CLH, it could just be a long over the halt price in that 32.5. So it's right. It's now reclaimed the zone that we wanted to, but it's in a halt. It's an upward halt. If it maintains this price, I think it's game over. I think we gotta. And sometimes you get real lucky, and all I can tell you is I punched out of Palantir because of a move up in CLH that simultaneously drove this up. Palantir dipped at the open and is doing it again, and then the big time bounce. If it holds VWAP, you can start thinking long, but I'm not jumping into the short, partly because we got a number coming out right now, Adara.
We do have numbers, and in just 2 seconds, we're going to be getting some S&P PMI data. Okay, so S&P Services PMI, 49.7. That is below estimates of 53. Manufacturing PMI, 51.6, slightly above estimates of 51.4. S&P Composite PMI coming in at 50.4, below estimates of 53.2. So just to recap, we have S&P Services and Composite PMI below estimates, quite significantly so. Then S&P Manufacturing PMI slightly above estimates, and the market not reacting too much, bouncing a little bit here. We have the cues with some bottoming tail candles on the 3-minute. Again, just to remind you all, the bigger economic number, or the more closely watched one anyway, will be coming at 10 a.m. with the Michigan Consumer Sentiment print and its inflation component, so the 1-year and 5-year inflation expectations. The inflation numbers, as of more recently, have been more likely to move the market. We'll also get the existing home sales at 10 a.m. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adair. There's a lot going on right now. Got to go over, just quickly show you guys the reaction of the futures there before I talk about SMCI. You held overnight lows, and you're bouncing on the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's still red, obviously, but a little bit of a bounce starting to happen and starting to come in here. SMCI, I know it's been a big mover. It wasn't at the top of the list, but goes right into yesterday's top and fades it again. So double top on this yesterday, right here at 62.5. Same thing again. If one squeezes, maybe they all can. That's my first thought. So Palantir, sometimes it's like that. It was a short to long yesterday, and maybe it was a much shorter-lived short today into a long. I was looking short, so we got in and we got out. And look, it is what it is. How many times have you seen me, like, I'll get out of the move like that, and then it goes $5 lower, so it's like your style is your style, and then sometimes you just end up looking good. Rivian, we're still in it. Still under the 13 level, basically shorting the lower high in here off of 13 even. As long as that holds, I think we play it into the low, although I have not been able to add to this position at any point yet. So it's holding on to this lower high very well. It's not really flushing. It's also not really giving me any re-entry points here. Let me just get a bid out in front of the 60s. So we're locked and loaded because CELH should be open in just under 2 minutes. We'll have CELH opening back up. So Palantir starting to gun. We showed you guys that double top there in SMCI, and then CELH should open in a couple of minutes here. Celsius in an up halt, indicating 32. Actually, a flat open. Now actually down. Now it's indicating 32.50. So it was indicating flat. Now it's indicating a little bit to the downside on the reopen.
Yeah, just got to keep watching that. I have the last print here, Neil, at 9:44 and 13 seconds. So if it is a 5-minute halt, we should see it right at 49:13 as well. So it's 48, about a minute left until that. I'm watching Unity as well. Unity slowly grinding to the upside as well. We did crack through that $30 mark with some significant size as well, but still chopping and churning in and around that. I don't expect it to just fly right away. Like if you look at the action yesterday, it was just a slow, kind of a methodic grind all the way up. So maybe looking for dips to get involved in a little bit later. But yeah, no, I'm just kind of like I said, I hesitated hitting that 31 push back through, and then I guess that halt price 31.5 was definitely a little bit of an add there as price continued to push up there on CELH. But I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna wait for it to settle down. Let's see if it can get out of this halt fest here on CELH here. I'm gonna go out on a limb there and say this is probably the most eventful earnings ticker on the day today. I don't really see anything else that's doing anything crazy. Sure, things are making a move. Block is selling off.
Block's not having a very good day.
Yeah, Block continues to sell off. A little bit of red there on Block. Rivian continues to hold its pre-market trend. What else do I have on watch here? And SMCI. SMCI is back at that 60. It's open now on CELH. So maybe that squeeze we were looking for with that over 20% short float might be we might be poised for that. But this is also VWAP. Yeah, this is also VWAP as well. So let's be a little patient for this one here. 32.70 still trading at, and VWAP's just shy of that 33 mark right there. So I'm going to be a little patient. We've halted down once and then halted up once here on CELH, but still holding this $30 area, still holding some of these levels here from prior days, not prior days session, but the overnight action off of the earnings reaction right there. So this is kind of what I'm looking at right here. We did come in to 30 right here, 32.60s trading right now. We did reclaim that anchored view up from earnings as well. So I want to see a little bit more distinct action there. Oh boy, there's Unity blasting to the upside there. Absolutely wild. So
How's
there
that
goes
story
Unity. Yeah, I know. I wasn't expecting it to move like that. As soon as I say it, it starts to blast through its highs there. So a bit of a miss on that one, but I'll wait for.
Don't give up. Don't give up on Celsius yet. We're back to 32.5. It's clawing a little bit higher. It might still break out that 33. Rivian, I'll be out of Rivian at the low. And let me just, if you weren't tuning in earlier, I don't even know what that word was I just said. This is the bottom for the last little bit on Rivian. It's about 12.15 at 12.20. It's been an absolute brick wall of support. And I'm looking for some kind of like a short sell restricted 10% down bounce off that level. So the short goes to there. That's the plan of action. I like the station to station. That's the range I want for the short trade. There's always a trade after that in theory, but for now, it's about 30 pennies in the money. I have a bid down there already to try to get out. And Celsius, I think it wants to do it. I think it can. Maybe it'll break 33. Now, granted, if it fails a break at 33, there's all the possibility in the world it could halt down. So if it doesn't work right away, like I'm expecting if it breaks 33 to be getting filled at 34 pronto or in front of 34. So if it doesn't work right away, I want to give it to the prior halt price. And if it loses that, who cares? That's not a lot of risk. It's a breakout trade. I don't like breakout trades in stocks that have already halted in each direction because as far as I'm concerned, if you try to hold it or average into it, you might ruin your entire day. So it's going to be a very tight stop on this potential breakout. And I actually like something that's going on in NVIDIA as well. So CLH will take the break, tight stop. NVIDIA, double bottom, double wick bottom. It's not super strong because the market's not super strong, but there's one wick, there's two, right in front of that 139. So let's see if 139 can hold as the market trends back in. I like that kind of support level. For now, Rivian looking okay. Palantir, not reloading it yet. And CLH has my attention because any second this thing could break out 33. So I can't get away from that level too.
Yeah, I think again, I'm gonna keep my hands off as of right now. I'm watching both Unity and CLH, kind of main ones on watch right now. Some of the other ones are banks. We kind of talked about a potential continuation on the banks, seeing as how aggressively they were sold off yesterday, and XLF. It is continuing a little bit to the downside as of right now, 51.29s on XLF. So yeah, some solid action here, solid continuation. Unity a lot stronger than I expected it to be, and so is CELH. But I'm going to stay patient. I'm going to wait for that snipe moment to show up, and then maybe potentially take a little bit of an entry there. What's up, Adara?
Keep an eye on a couple different tickers here. We have OSRH. This company's OSR Holdings. Again, not a lot of info in this stock. As I mentioned, on Wednesday, it looks like they were a special acquisition, business combination type situation as of February 18th, but a 2 billion share float nonetheless. We also have INOD. This is Inno data and INOD here pushing up higher here after day one earnings. They do have a 17% short float, and they beat on their EPS and sales estimates. Pretty strong guidance, too, for INOD. And again, OSRH. Also on watch, 5 minutes until University of Michigan. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Adara. And Unity is absolutely flying, so shout out to everyone that's mentioning that. CLH, I'd say it's a bit of a disappointment because there was probably a big missed opportunity off of that bottom. I think it'd be really quick to catch. But Unity, super strong. It's a blue sky setup for Unity. There's your daily chart. I mean, 2850 is in the rear view. You don't have much until you try to break like 31.5 into 32. So there's not a lot standing in its way except for how parabolic it is relative to a weak market. That's about it. Right? I think maybe you forget about VWAP on days where it's really strong, but it's respecting it so far. So why not at least look for that? I just noticed that you're catching a bid in Rivian here. Yeah, like it was cruising to the low, and I'm bidding underneath the low instead of in front of it. So yeah, cruising toward the low, which I want to get out in front of the pre-market low. But maybe we get a VWAP re-entry. I'm still waiting at 13s, which I don't think makes any sense anymore. So I'll just get rid of that and not all of the orders. And just hang on to Rivian for the time being. Palantir did not go all the way and retest the high. But we took a break down trade after it failed the top. So kind of a failed top breakout, break support at the open, bounced right off the first place you might suspect it would, and then a lower high got put in. So it's not entirely clear VWAP is anything right now in Palantir. So I'm going to stay away from re-entry there. CLH, I keep having to look over at it because it's still above 32, and that 33 break, the stock to move 50 cents and break out the top is not going to take a heck of a lot. So if you see me, I'm just going to keep glancing over there to be ready for it. But with this weakness coming in the market, here comes that NVIDIA into 139. So those are the stocks I'm tracking. 33 break on CELH, hanging on to Rivian, looking for the low of the day. That short's working. Palantir, I'd like to reshort it at the high, or I guess I'd break out 110 if it got there, and NVIDIA 139, which has yet to actually print.
Yeah, I think I did get a little involved here on Unity as it started to slow down a little bit here. But let's see if the slowdown is enough to take us back into VWAP, or are we going to push right back to those highs there? But yeah, very, very strong action here on Unity. Did not expect it to push up that aggressively right off of the bat here. But yeah, okay, so we're getting a little bit of a pullback here into the $30 level. 30.25s currently right here on Unity. So I'm going to start covering a little bit here. I still don't want to fight the trend. The moving average currently is sitting at 30.08s. So let's see if we can get down into that $30 mark here, or do we pop right back up? That is my question as of right now. So I am kind of just layering out some quick covers there. I did get a little aggressive there, but not aggressive enough. I was getting ready to double up, Neil, on the break of that trend, on the pushback through the 60, and then it just cracks into the 50s, and I'm like, oh boy, now I got to put on like 20 pennies more worth of risk. I'm not willing to double down in that situation, but yeah, let's see how far this can get here. But holding trend, pretty nice. Don't necessarily want to fight it too aggressively as of right now, but yeah, if it continues to catch the bid on top of its moving average, now sitting at 30.16. Again, I'm not looking to execute on the moving average, but I'm just looking for it to respect that area there. And if it's going to continue doing that, then I don't want to stay involved with that. Again, we talk about counter trending there. I do have to be a little bit more nimble when I am trying to catch a bit of that counter trend, Neil. So let's see how well this one goes. We're coming right back into those 30.50s as of right now. So Unity, a little bit of a scalp there. CLH, I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting for it to potentially come in here.
It's really calmed down.
Yeah, it's very like this is what I was waiting for. Okay, you're gonna do a crazy shake and bake off the open. Go for it. I'm gonna wait for you to kind of cool off and take it from there. So.
All right. Oh, we just got. All right. No, I didn't want to get back in. Let's get a flat. So Rivian just came back in. Two things. I'll get to this in a second, but we got to get to the execution first, always. So Rivian broke the prior high. I must have still had an order out. Anyways, I got actually in and out for a penny after getting out of the last of the short for a hit. We took the short on Rivian. It'll be good, but not great because we wanted that big follow through. Remember, this is a stock that is bouncing off big levels on the daily. So if it takes out the top, I'm not fighting this thing short. You can probably see the next place I'd try to play. It's got the line at 1380, so we'd wait for that. You're still CELH bound for this 33 break. Like there's still a chance. So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I'm saying there's a chance. It's trying to, like, look how long it's held this consolidation. I get it. I'm staring at a stock that's not moving and it's frustrating. But I feel like when you halt down and then break out the top on a highly shorted name, I just want to have that shot in me if we're able to get it. Palantir, I wanted to quickly give you guys Palantir because this is, yeah, it didn't get to the top. It didn't consolidate under VWAP. It just dumped. So Palantir, just as, I mean, it's weak, but I didn't find a re-entry into it. So as Obi said, just got to be a little bit patient. Yeah. That'll be a little bit more clean. Like after that rinse of the bottom, a retest of the high felt like it made more sense on Palantir. Now we just got to think VWAP because I don't really want to take breakdowns at this time of day. It's 10 o'clock. I want to try to respect opening ranges if we can. So we'll see about this Palantir, but I got to short a pop next time through. Dara?
10 seconds until University of Michigan consumer sentiment print. So we're going to be looking here for the sentiment number. We're expecting 67.8. We're also going to be looking here at the 1-year and 5-year inflation expectations because the 1-year inflation expectation last time came well above estimates. Okay, here we go. So 1-year inflation, 4.3% versus 4.3% expected, in line. However, now the 5-year coming in above estimates. So 3.5% versus 3.3%. So slightly more inflation expected here on the 5-year time frame. Then we get a much lower than expected consumer sentiment print here, 64.7 versus 67.8 expected. Then we also, the other print we got here was existing home sales, a little bit below expectations, 4.08 million versus 4.13 million expected. And then negative 4.9% here for the existing home sales month-over-month change. So just to recap, in line for 1-year inflation expectations, slightly above estimates here for the 5-year, well below estimates for University of Michigan sentiment, and then below estimates here for home sales. And we got a bit of right now it looks like a bottoming tail candle here for the NASDAQ, likely reacting a little bit lower initially on that weaker than expected consumer sentiment print. Lots of earnings on watch here. We've heard Obi and Neil talk about Celsius, talk about Rivian, talk about XYZ. There's also some acquisition-related catalysts for Celsius and Hims. But the other catalyst here is actually a lot of DOJ investigations. UNH here reportedly being investigated by the DOJ, though they've already called it misinformation. And CrowdStrike also reportedly facing investigations from the DOJ and the SEC. Then another thing to watch out for is going to be any name with the Chinese ADR-related names here. We know that China tech bull run has really been continuing. So Baidu, Baba, JD, any of the EV names out of China, certainly on watch. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dara. Yeah, so that economic number not really giving us too much there, and that reversion on Unity worked out quite nicely here. The reversion to VWAP. So this is what I was talking about. I just wanted to wait for that snipe and got a little lucky with that snipe. Again, got to do a little bit better with getting in on the right side. I'm like, I see it start to slow down.
You got it on the right side.
And technically, not on the chart I didn't. Look, we can go down to the 1 minute here.
NVIDIA's breaking trend for anybody else.
A little bit more here. Actually, did I post? I think I might have posted at, you know what, I'll take that off. I'm going to leave a breadcrumb on for VWAP there out of more than 95% of that right there. So yeah, there's a lot of covers. But yeah, look, actually, you know what, Neil? It's questionable. It's questionable. Is this the right side? I got to go down to a shorter time. I got to go down to a shorter time frame. But technically, maybe it is the right side. You got to see if I punched in after this high was
Looks
made.
Like the right
I got in on the candle that did make the high because I was just watching it. But it did tick against me, right? It did tick against me back up to 86s. I held about 20 pennies against me, which maybe wasn't the best. there. But yeah, we're still, like I said, we're still holding this trend. This is just a quick reversion scalp here. I don't know if we're going to get all the way down to VWAP here. I think I initially posted an order to cover some down here at 29.60s, and then when we kind of stalled on the 30 level, I'm like, all right, I got to start really kind of covering in and around here, because we did go down to the 90s. We print, I think it was 90 something there. What is that low? I got to make sure. The low was, okay, so the low was 83. So the rebid was quite aggressive back into the 90s. And I'm like, all right, well, I have to aggressively kind of pull back in. But waiting for the reload, waiting for the next trade. Where is the next trade?
Before Dara, we're going to go to Dara in a quick second. NVIDIA is trying to break trend and hold VWAP. So it double tapped 139, put in a higher low. It's breaking the trend, got long. Wrong end, right end, playing it higher. Rivian also double top now at 13.20. If it fails that, I'm going to try to go short. Adara.
So we have a credit list for Apple. For some context, back in a couple weeks ago, around February 7th, we did get some reports suggesting that the UK had basically ordered Apple through a backdoor order to allow it to spy on users' encrypted accounts. Now we're seeing apparently here reports that Apple has pulled its cloud encryption feature after this backdoor order, specifically pulling it in the UK. So after we had this order for the UK to basically, I guess, get access to encrypted accounts through a backdoor order for Apple, now Apple pulling that feature in the UK. Guys, again, just a report right now. But back to you.
Yeah. So I know Sharif likes that. You know what I don't like? Okay, so NVIDIA's starting to work, but Celsius, all right, it's time to just cancel the order in Celsius. This is the thing. Like, I really wanted it to break. I felt like with the halt down and the halt up, you had an opportunity that this could have been a big-time squeeze play. But in order for something to squeeze, it's got to punk the shorts. And the shorts are winning in CLH right now. So the best sometimes that you can do when you're looking for a long is that it never gives it to you and you don't take it, because unless you had the long off the reopen, there hasn't been one on this stock. So, the best I can do is not be in the stock. And that's about it. There's still a chance it could put in a higher low from now, but you got to move on to the next. NVIDIA actually ran into a seller at 140.40 here in the $0.50. So I was getting one out there, and then the second I saw that wick, I'm like, take another out. Let's see if it holds the higher low. I still have it under prior bar bottom, which is 139.80. My stop is under that level. So I have a chance that I can reload this after taking some out, but you're still in a downward trend with no upward candles in the market. So the Nasdaq's all red candles since the open. I want to respect that, and I'm not going to reload something on a trend break. If it's a trend break and then it loses the bid or loses VWAP, I'm just going to take it out. BABA seems like it's incredibly strong as well. We have not looked at Alibaba or JD. I know they're having good days again. I love you, Alibaba. Let's go.
Oh my God. There's the.
Yeah, this one's a home run. And,
yeah, I know.
I'm telling you. I have
we both know somebody who's on.
No, I had a trail. I have a trail on this on my Alibaba down from like the 80s.
It's going.
And I'm thinking 180. I don't know if you're into darts. You have to be into darts to be able to get that one. Let's go to Adara.
Keep an eye here on FUTU. Really strong here. Futu Holdings. This one, not a small cap. This is another Chinese ADR related play. So Futu, really strong. About $130 right now, pushing to the upside. It's worth noting too, this one is, again, not a small cap, but 12 billion $12 billion market cap. There's also MLGO on watch here. Micro Algo, this one trying to make new day's highs here, except for this wicking candle. So nice push to the upside for Micro Algo. Repeat runner with, I believe, about a 7% short float. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, CLH has ended up being a really good short.
Unity.
Really good short. Break VWAP?
Down at VWAP. And you know what I did well today, Neil? Remember yesterday I was like, I had a bit of an issue. I'm just like, even if it's 1% of the position, I have to put in the rep for holding the position.
Got to take it serious every time.
Doesn't matter. I think that's a very safe way to do it. Like, okay, I feel like the trade is done. I cover almost everything. Leave on 1 to 10% of the position, and just let it show you. Let it work, so that I can get better at holding even more % of the position next time for that for that push. And yeah, VWAP on Unity. I didn't expect it in the moment that we were at the 30, but I was definitely wrong. And right now we're testing 2960s, 2970s, give or take, whatever. We're in the VWAP area now on Unity. Now again, why did I have Unity on watch today? Because, well, yesterday it was very, very strong. So we can take a quick look at the chart there. And yeah, I just took a quick little reversion there. Off of yesterday's action. Again, yesterday was earnings day 1. Today's earnings day 2. Very, very strong move, opening at the lows and closing near the highs. And we got that continuation off the open today, but a bit of a reversion back down into VWAP. As of right now, where's the next trade? I have no idea, but right now we're going to go off to Idera.
Keep an eye here on MOMO or Momo. The company is called Hello Group. This one, not a ton of volume in it yet, about 500,000 shares, but trying to break out. It is a Chinese ADR, and it's a small cap, about a $1 billion market cap. Along with this MOMO, it's worth noting MLGO, which I just mentioned earlier. I was incorrect. It's an 18% short float on this name, and it's also a Chinese ADR. So right now, they're pretty heavily rejecting that $4 level. Back to you.
Very quickly before we take care of some business, we're back. We were back into NVIDIA. It took out the low, did not reload it because I didn't want to reload the stock with the market looking weak, but it is now holding that higher low. Thought maybe if you could dip into 139, you'd be able to get a better price because we're long it at that 140 level, but doesn't look like that's going to be the case. Celsius is being Celsius, and Palantir, Celsius being Celsius, meaning it's not doing anything, it's gliding slowly to the downside. Palantir can't seem to get back to a 107. To retest prior day high in VWAP, where I'd like to be trying to short on PLTR. But it hasn't broken the low, so it's very much available for us. And shout out to everybody that's interested in saving money, because President's Day savings are still here. Get 22% off at Trade Ideas on all new subscriptions with the code TraderTV22. But wait, there's more. Upgrade the premium annual and snag a massive 28% off with code TraderTV28. That's right, huge savings happening right now. Head to the 2025 President's Day sale landing page, linked below, and do not miss out. Shout out to Trade Ideas, because that's what it's all about. It's about finding the trades, finding the opportunities, being on the right stocks. Like I would venture to say I haven't had an execution in CLH today. It sucks, but you know, I think it was the right stock to be watching because the opportunities were going to be explosive. So ultimately, there is some opportunity cost in that. I probably miss at least one trade in Palantir because of it, because it stayed underneath 110. You know, 110 is the level for me. As long as it doesn't break that resistance underneath, I want short setups and as many as we could possibly get. So I probably missed one. I missed something in there. We'll look for that VWAP retrace if we're able to get it. Not sure that's going to be the case. Oh, mean reversion again on Rivian. And I did the thing that you said, where you're like, I don't want to make sure I'm getting in on the back end, not the front end. Where I had Rivian on the front end, and then kind of punch out right away because you've taken it too early. Now it's breaking the trend line on Rivian. So we had Rivian off of VWAP, and then we tried it again at 13, and then we tried it off the high, kind of tight stops in there. But now I think you're breaking the trend to jump back in to this one. Silly CLH. I'm not taking that one off my level 2. Because as long as it's around 32, it's putting in a higher low. We're getting into a Rivian again, now that it's trying to break the trend, and we'll again just give it to the high, relatively tight stops. But CLH, I think I can. I'm taking a 33 break.
Yeah,
that's the level. It was 32 half to 33 that I was thinking for an entry, and it's consolidating right underneath it. So I got to have that break. It's a big squeeze name. There's a really decent chance like that either rinses and halts down, or we're getting to the top real quick. And as long as you have a good stop order in there, I think it's worth a shot.
Yeah, no, it's funny where CLH is consolidating in a very tight range here. Would you want to take a guess as to where, Neil? Right on the anchored. Right on the anchored. Now, anchored again. Like I said, it was a little finicky there. Where you really want to put your anchor. Also, another thing on CLH, absolutely beautiful action that I do want to point out before we kind of talk about that. Look at this beautiful downtrend break. We broke this downtrend. So technically, if you got long off of technicals here on a trend break, on a pullback hold of that trend, where that trend resistance turns into trend support. maybe. I don't know. Trends resistance turned into support. But yeah,
never
look at
happens,
that.
though.
Nice little push, right? Off of that 24, right? And we come in on the earnings report. We grab that. We talk about lick grabs, and what a beautiful grab of that trend that was, and a push all the way up to 30. So kind of giving that follow through on the technicals. That's why I love technicals so much. Sometimes I don't know. Is it the question always arises? Is it which came first, the chicken or the egg? But like, you know, sure, there was a catalyst involved. There's earnings, right? Earnings, good or bad. We don't know how the market can react. They actually missed on their EPS, but they beat on their revenue. So I don't know which way the ticker is going to go, but the price action is very. I guess I say this all the time. It speaks in volumes. So literally, so you can see. Break and hold of that trend on expanding volume happens to be off of earnings as well. So absolutely solid kind of play there. But yeah, so the anchored is what we were talking about here. So anchored, again, like you can see here on TradingView, the volume comes in on this candle at 4:30, but you can see price already starts to move a little erratically a little earlier at 4:06. So that's where I have my anchored kind of anchored to. And right now you can see that that anchored price is 31.91. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can take it off the lows where the buyers came in, and that'll give you 32.07, right? Still, technically, still consolidating in and around that area. Or you can just go to the volume candle and be like, all right, I don't really care about all the volume that traded before the actual report and before the actual volume, because maybe you're thinking most of the participants got in after that. So if you anchor it to that, take a look at that. Now we're holding, now a little bit of a different perspective. So the average weighted volume price, since that volume, we're kind of holding that as a little bit of a resistance at 32.46. So yeah, a little bit of a discrepancy depending on where you put that anchored and what participants you're looking for, right? So as of right now, holding as resistance against some of the volume that came in on the report coming out at 16:30. That's 4:30 there. But yeah, holding within that range and consolidating at another couple of anchors here. So this hold of price, this narrowing, this compression, whatever you want to call it, is definitely interesting. Let's see where CELH blasts off of this one. Oh my God, Neil.
It's over. It's over.
Unity is at $29.
You can't sing it when it's going down.
That's a point and a half. And
You only do that when it's going up.
I cover everything at 50 pennies, Neil. I covered over 90% of my position at about 50, 60 pennies. Absolutely. Woosah.
It's
okay.
But you know what,
Next
though?
trade. But you know what? I did well holding on to a piece.
My perspective, which is that's the most important thing.
Very small, like breadcrumb.
You've got to remember.
It's insignificant.
You got to remember, Obi.
It's the rep that I put in.
When you don't get out of, sometimes when you take that trade at like the support level or whatever it might be, you're like, oh, it looks like an absolute genius out. And other times it looks like, oh, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
I'll grant you, I said this a million times, at least 4 out of every 5 days in a given trading week, I'm only using the example that I have so I can tell you, I'll do this to see the stock do that. And I'm like, oh my goodness. But you got to follow your rule and your style. And if a reversion is a reversion to VWAP, then that's the play. I didn't even hold 50%
like, look to VWAP.
I'm not even, okay, this candle just happened. I'm not even making this up. Rivian, reversion, VWAP, right back to the top. So if you don't get most of it out there, it's more about like what happens. If you just do the same action 100% of the time on the play, like what's it overall going to do? Because if that 10%, the idea is it's a positive expectancy. As long as you do what's going to be the positive expectancy in your trading style, you're going to be okay. But then there's that 5-10% where you don't follow your rule and it works out for you. That's where you can get into trouble.
That's where I've been getting into trouble. Literally, we went over like a monthly review of January. And I got into trouble, let's say, four times in January. That's 3 too many. Three too many. Yes, get it, Adara. But 3 too many, 4 times getting shut down 4 times in the month is absolutely unacceptable. But I looked into some of those trades. And funny enough, literally all of those trades, I was telling Neil and Wayne as well, and I was like, literally all those trades look exactly the same. And when that's happening is when I am breaking my rules, not following the system, maybe getting too aggressive. Maybe I am following my stops, but I'm not following my 3-strike rule or my aggression rule or my allocated ticker limit on the day. So it's like if I only want to risk 30% of my daily shutdown on one ticker, then maybe I'm not following that. So it's some form of not following some sort of hard set rule. And on those days,
interrupt.
It's horrible on those days.
But speaking of rules,
yes,
I like trend lines. You like trend lines.
Yes, we do.
Alibaba is on support, on the trend, on VWAP simultaneously. Support and trend. That's 2 things, not 3. I just wanted to be dramatic. So yeah, you're holding the trend line. If it can close it out above, I want to look for the long breaking back out over to stay on trend. I didn't really want to be short this name. It did do a pretty ridiculous reversion of trend earlier today, so I suppose I should be shorting this underneath VWAP. I was about to tell you I'm punching long if it breaks this back out above, but if it closes underneath, I will take that trade. It's the whole day's trend so far. Rivian did bounce off VWAP, but it managed to hold the high, so the short's still working well. Celsius, I mean, it's just Celsius still isn't really doing anything. And here's the question from Daniel Koala. If account shut down for you, you guys pay for a new one.
No.
No, so when nobody's talking about a shutdown on a prop floor, it's just your daily loss limit. So you get shut down if you hit your daily loss limit. You just can't trade for the rest of the day. You can then trade again tomorrow, provided you don't get fired off the trading floor. I shouldn't laugh,
provided you don't shut down far enough.
No, like there's...
I mean, I've had some pretty bad shutdowns in January, but the thing is, how I like to do it is even if I'm being a little degen, I don't want to degen more than 3 or 4 days. Like, I have to be confident that if there are good trades, that's more than recoverable within 2 or 3 days, right? And if my stats kind of show that, and if my track record kind of shows that, sometimes the issue is that I'm willing to be a little degen on those days. That's another problem. That's
there's
a whole other problem.
nothing worse than if you've ever been a trading floor manager or a risk manager. There's nothing worse than like that moment where someone does have a loss. It's like that's multiple months for them to dig out of that hole, and then the inevitable happens. It's not a lot of fun. All of the lowest points of my trading career have usually involved that because people that are in trading, Baba just broke that 144, so it stayed on trend, stay on target. But people that get into prop trading and are on a floor, they probably really love it because it's a really empowering job and all that stuff. And it sucks being the person that ever delivers that message. We're supposed to go to Adara, but held trend Alibaba, held VWAP. Let's get to the high at 145 and let it fly. Adara?
And pushing to the upside. IWM doing pretty much the opposite here. We have been trading lower all day. This is the 15-minute chart, so we are at day's lows. Not only that, but we've also taken out yesterday's lows. So lots of weakness in the more rate-sensitive Russell 2000. It's worth noting, too, we did get a lower than expected consumer sentiment print and a slightly higher than expected 5-year inflation expectation here from the University of Michigan. We know that the IWM is more rate-sensitive, so I think it is worth being aware of those numbers. MLGO here, one of the small caps to watch out for. Micro Algo, this is a Chinese ADR, so likely moving with the rest of these here because it did not have an individual catalyst. What it does have, though, is an 18% short float. NKGN here, NKGen Biotech. There is a penny stock here trading about 66 cents right now, announcing that they've administered their expanded autologous NK cell therapy. So some therapy administration here for NKGN. GRAB Grab Holdings, a little bit less of a small cap. We're talking about a $20 billion market cap, but they are about a $5 stock. They reported earnings yesterday morning and actually got an upgrade from JP Morgan today. So good look for GRAB. Other small caps I'm seeing moving around here are WIMI and HOLO. INOD, not a small cap, but an earnings name that was moving pretty parabolically earlier today as well. So just a couple tickers to be aware of this morning, guys. Back to you.
A lot more.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was the place to reload, right? Neil and I are just talking about Unity and how I was just like, well, I wanted to double up. I wanted to add more into the trade. So where could I have potentially done that? I'm like, all right, cool. 70-80% cover on top of the 30. If you think that 30 is going to hold and we're still holding that trend, like, look, the trend is very strong. I wanted to respect this trend. That trend is continuation from yesterday's strong action. And again, it's earnings day too. We're still doing relative volume. Pre-market had a strong trend as well. And we held VWAP, right? So I'm like, all right, so what am I seeing there? Wow, this is absolutely beautiful here. I did not expect this to work so beautifully, but you know what? That's something to remember for next time. But this kind of trend right here, you can see we literally bounced off of it, right? So that's what I'm looking at, and I'm like, all right, well, if it's going to hold that trend and we're going to continue, I do want to piece off and cover a little aggressively. But the thing is, this is your reload, right? When it holds the 30, it shows you the bounce. Yeah, people are definitely getting in for a continuation long here. If you're not already in here, you're looking for that 30 failure to follow through. That's technically still somewhat of an execution, but bigger picture, we don't hold this, we pull back in. This back through 30 that happens right here on the break of trend that we've been holding throughout the morning session, which happens to be the continuation trend from pre-market and from prior day, earnings day one. It's a little bit of a reason to sell, right? It's a trade within itself. So I think, again, this is me talking to myself, cover your 80-90% if you feel like this is the place. But when this breaks, because this is a trade in itself, this is, again, the continuation for the push into VWAP. And then when we reject VWAP like that, and then now we're rejecting opening range lows as well, kind of giving up the whole move, maybe we are poised for a little bit of a pullback, maybe into some of these pre-market levels. But take a look at that. Prior bar not really breaking. Maybe it broke here. The first time it does bounce on the 3-minute, but I just go up to a higher time frame. Go up to a 5-minute, still holding on the 5-minute. Go up to a 15, still holding on the 15. And 30-minute, oh boy, we're cracking some big levels on the 30-minute as well. So lots to learn on my part here on Unity today, but great opportunities nonetheless. Throw it up in the chat what you guys are
MLGO,
are trading
I think.
here. MLGO. I just want to
micro algo.
Yes.
Breaking out the high as we speak. V-shaped bottom. I'll get to a Bob in a quick little second. Just took another leg out there, and I'll show you why. But double top here on MLGO, but it's starting to fail that high. You always want these things to be able to hold a high break when they've trended down since the pre-market. That's a key one, but it's still higher lows on that bad boy. So shout out to anyone looking at that name. Ali, the market is tanking right now, and Baba's retesting the trend line. There was a seller at 144.5 after I broke the trend in. I'm still willing to reverse this one if we break underneath. The problem is VWAP sits there. So a trend break is going to be over VWAP. So I'll get out of the long to make sure we don't turn a winning trade into a loser, but I'm not reversing short above VWAP on Alibaba. So it's a little bit of a change because I know I like that trend break. The market is absolutely losing it, so the NASDAQ is flushing. PLTR, Palantir did not get back to 107 where we had short earlier. So we're kind of still looking for an entry. I think if it just does this again, I'm going to jump into it because it's stair-step to the downside. So far, so good. We're still in our Rivian that we're holding for VWAP. It just broke VWAP. We're looking for the low of the day here on Rivian. Had to wait this one out. We missed the bounce because it happened at like before 9 o'clock, like the bounce off that support on the daily. But it's still heavy support on that daily where I'm looking for longs. So I'm going to be out at the low on Rivian and looking for that re-entry. And just to show you guys, anyone that hasn't tuned in, if you're just tuning in right now, it's like, why would you want to be long on Rivian at that bottom? This is the daily chart on Rivian. That's accumulation. If it gets down here, it's 10% down, and that's the place I'm looking for an SSR bounce. So one trade short into it, and then the other trade would be a reversion coming out of it if we get all the way to the low here on Rivian. But I have my bids to cover, and then we move on to the next as, Bitcoin's also losing it. Yeah, Bitcoin loses it. This is IBIT, load, there we go. We just, ooh, that's not good. That's not a good looking daily chart if Bitcoin is not going to be able to recover here. Yeah, that's nasty. You just lost a 50 period and resistance at that, right in front of 100K at 99, and now you're absolutely bleeding. I think it's a gift that the Chinese names are strong because there's not much that's looking strong right now. So Baba holds on to trend. I'll probably, next time I'm going to reload down here on the trend line and tighten up the stop. So tighten up the stop from here to maybe there, And if it holds 144 even, then I might as well reload it anyways off that level.
Yeah, no, the market is coming in very, very aggressively right now. I don't know if you're watching this.
A little bit.
NASDAQ and the ES straight down. Straight down. There's no bounces. There's no bounces. These are 15-minute candles here. And since 9:15, straight reds to the downside here. Absolutely crazy. Covered that last crumb of unity because, again, a little bit of a tape turn, a little bit of a break in trend as well. Maybe we're poised for a little bit of a VWAP retest. I have no idea, but a little distinctly different than the market. So I think the trade is done for me here. If it continues further, then yeah, more lessons for me to kind of learn there. But yeah, solid kind of a move there, all the way from 30 halves down to 28 halves, 28 60s, kind of coming in as the lows there. Absolutely wild move there on Unity. But the question now becomes, Neil, where is the next trade? Starbucks was very strong yesterday. It was on my list. I mean, really? we can go through the tickers I had on my morning trade plan.
Oh yeah, it's strong today too.
It is strong again for the continuation today. So yeah, let's take a quick look at the morning plan. Let me know in the chat. Throw it up in the chat if any of these tickers. I'm going to run through them real quick. Without looking at the chart. But let me know in the chat if you guys traded any of these. And then I'm going to go through some of these as well. Pepsi continuation. So did that happen? I was looking for the continuation on PEP. We can take a quick, where is my chart on PEP? My PEP chart is not here. Okay, all right, that's fine. Intel is kind of doing its thing as well. But PEP. Right here, PEP continuation, did that happen? Yeah, it kind of did happen, but in the pre-market, 9:15, so that didn't really go on. What's going on?
Just very quickly, I know we don't always cover small caps here, but I wanted to go over Firefly, because Firefly Neurosciences, which we've mentioned before and has been a big-time runner before, up 17%. There was a story, the exercise of a warrant for total proceeds of 8.8. I think we're actually going to have the CEO maybe even jump on today, which would be pretty cool. But it's pulling back into prior resistance. So gap up, pulling back into prior resistance, bull flagging, like whatever you want to call it. AIFF Firefly on volume, 4 million in volume today. It's actually holding the top end of the channel. Just wanted to put that one to our attention. And let's head to the desk. It's Adara, and it's 10:30 already. Oh my goodness.
The biggest story in crypto this morning by far was going to be this Coinbase catalyst. Basically, first we have this reported by the Wall Street Journal. Then we actually have it being said here by Brian Armstrong. Coinbase, and again, we've only heard this from Coinbase. The SEC has explicitly declined to comment. But CEO of Coinbase here, Brian Armstrong, saying that the SEC, or at least staff from the SEC, has agreed to drop its case against the company. Of course, this is still subject to the approval of the SEC's commissioner, so that has not happened yet. We're going to have to wait and see what happens here with COIN. But Brian Armstrong also saying that he believes they're going to be getting to a point with crypto where the majority of the global GDP actually runs on these crypto rails. So to be clear, this entire move has been sold off as of right now, more or less, for COIN. But worth noting here, reportedly set to end their SEC dispute or lawsuit. So keep an eye on that here. Now we have Bitcoin, which initially, after this push to the downside, was holding the support level of 98.1, basically 98.2. Now we're breaking below that level. BTC now also making a lower high here on the 15-minute chart. And we were so close to that 100,000 level, topping today around that 99.5. So let's take a look here at the daily chart for crypto. Through a nice two-day push to the upside here, we make a higher high, distinctly higher high here from the most recent high on February 14th. And then we push to the downside. We've given up very little of yesterday's move, so still could be a good look for BTC, but be aware of that rejection of that 99.5 level and the fact we can't hold support right now at 98.2 either. Back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Derek. Yeah, it's not looking great, but there was a little bit of support that just came in. Last one I'm still in. I'll go to Baba, which obviously didn't hold 140. I'll look back in a second. Haven't really pressed to the low here on Rivian, so the reversion trade working for now, but it's putting in a nice higher low when the market's trying to bottom. I've moved the trail so that if it breaks back out from here, just slightly above, we'll get out. It's still putting in higher lows, so I want to respect that, which looks something like that, right? From pre-market low, the opening range bottom to this current low, if it holds that trend, this is not a hole all the way back into the top. Either, as a matter of fact, I should be canceling that bid, because if it breaks that trend, I should be holding for lower. Yeah. And if it holds that trend, I should be getting out. So that's the complete thought there. And now I can go to Alibaba for you guys, because Baba did not hold 144. Never a chance to reload. It's at VWAP. I did not short this when it broke trend because VWAP was still holding on Baba, and it's held for most of the morning. So I want to give it a chance to still be a long, because I like Baba for the long side. But for now, I am out of this name. Yeah, I see Scott's. It's hilarious here, because like Scott Thompson's like, short Alibaba. Baba may lose VWAP here. If not for VWAP, I probably would already be short this, because look at the reversion. It's an all day long revert, and because of a line in the chart is why I didn't take it. It could always do a fail over and under. Oh, it's going to start to accelerate here. I'm not going to FOMO into it. You know, everyone has rules for a reason, and it's like I have never taken that setup above VWAP before, like directly above VWAP before. So because I've never done it, I don't have any clue what it looks like, or how it works for me. Usually I'm playing that reversion into VWAP or underneath VWAP, but clearly it would have worked if I had just reversed that trade. So shout out to everyone that was telling me to do it, but I don't want to throw away the profits from this morning. Yikes. Oh, it's frustrating, because you can see the trend line break, but I didn't want to punch short right in front of VWAP.
Yeah, I think see in those moments, I always have a hard time like being like, do I weigh VWAP more, volume weighted average, but or do I weigh the trend line more? Because it's like that changes decisions, and that changes probabilities as well, right? It's just like sometimes, I don't know. It's always a tough call, man. It's just, especially if you're already in position.
Well, see, it was easy to get out of the long there.
Because it's a reason to sell.
Yeah, it's a reason to sell. So it's easy to get out of the long flat. Because 144 goes, it's a trend line breaking, just get out flat. Don't try to fight the trade. Don't reload it, all that good stuff. But like maybe I should have been short there. The other thing that's happening, just guys, everybody, the NASDAQ just lost 22,000 as well.
Oh boy.
And Tesla is absolutely bleeding. So I canceled the bid on Rivian. I'm just going to see how far it goes at this point. Rivian's now down at 1270. It obviously can't hurt the Rivian short that we just lost 350 in a big way on Tesla. And this is also, remember, 348 has been support all week long on Tesla. Whoops, there's the 15-minute chart. All week long, this has been a support level on Tesla. So if we bounce and cannot get away from 348, this is a short from 48 to 50 on the way back up, even if it does, whether I'm short Rivian or not. So looking pretty nasty there. NVIDIA's trying to hold the low, but this is what we talk about. You don't have to fight a stock. Just because you want to be long a stock, or you were long a stock, or whatever, it worked yesterday long, you don't have to fight it. It tried to break trend. I went long. It did not hold. Could have gone back into it for a small win, but now you're bleeding on NVIDIA, and it looks like it's the other direction on this one. So looking pretty nasty. Where's your Unity? Because I can only imagine that's looking.
Oh, Unity is, I mean, it's still chopping around that area again. I observed that like maybe some buying might be happening there, so I was like, all right, cool. It was a little distinctly different. You can see I use that as a reason to cover, and I think it's working out well. I'm satisfied with where I have my where I made that decision. Like I said, it was an insignificant part. I covered over 90% of the position just for a 30, 40. Well, no, I got in 60s, right? So yeah, for some in the 20s, some in the 10s, some on the 30s, some in the 80s and 90s there as well. Kind of, I guess if you even that out, maybe I'm covering everything in and around 30 15s or 30 20s there, or whatever I had at 67. But again, left on a small morsel, breadcrumb, insignificant for the decision, for the rep, and that I kind of felt happened at that 2880s-ish mark, maybe a little bit before. But yeah, this could very well continue. Yeah, that's kind of the Unity push there. We're just going to go through some of these tickers right after we get back from you.
That's right. Listen up, everybody. The first month is free over at eSignal. That's right. They're waiving the fees so that you can trade smarter, not harder. With lightning-fast market data, with everything at your fingers, instant trading access through multiple brokers, a highly customizable platform, the ability to back test and forward test to your heart's delight. API access so that you're able to automate trades if that is your cup of tea, which I was just talking about that with Obi on a certain strategy. It'd be nice to have it automated.
Oh, yeah.
It's all about having everything you want in one place and the reliability of the data when it comes to e-signal, used by professional traders for years that I've known. So free is a fantastic price to try something out. If it doesn't work for you, then it doesn't work for you. And if it does, then you've just found something which is going to elevate your game. So scan the QR code you see right in front of you. You don't have to have my layout, but you have level 2s up there. You can watch XYZ get it punished for a ridiculous ticker and a bad quarter. Check out eSignal, link in the description, scan the QR code. Appreciate you, eSignal. And block is actually tanking along with the market. The shorts are coming in. It's one of these types of days. I hate to say it because we got away from using the term and the free fall Friday thing, but that's kind of what the market's doing. So there's Rivian. It kind of broke this trend. So the adjustment was, once it established that trend line and started bouncing off of it, to trail it here or just hold it for the low. And the low here being, yeah, Randy, it's not looking good for Rivian. The low being this support at 12.25 to 12.30 on Rivian.
I'm long at 10.21.
But we were saying this before. $10 has been the place to buy the stock.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been a buyer of Rivian, I'm pretty sure all three of us bought.
I've been long for.
Did you buy this one? I was buying it here.
Yeah.
So I think I have like 10.88 or something.
10.21, baby.
Silly like that. I don't remember.
Buy the dips, folks.
It might have. No, I think it was here. I think I bought it in here. So it doesn't really matter. It's a 10 level that's been better. That's all. Rivian's Randy's. It's his baby.
Vacuum that up.
Vacuum it up. I don't know about that. Yeah. It's vacuuming something up on a dip buy. Like, if you want to talk about dollar cost averaging into the index,
You have to be the bottom.
No, if you
be
pull
so
back-
big that you are the bottom.
well, I don't know. Like, it's on a bad stock, I'm not vacuuming anything up. The
I've heard
50
you can do
period
that on
on one of the good,
capitulation.
on like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ, you drop 5% or you go drop 10% in a short period of time. I'm vacuuming up my dollar cost average because that's how I roll. Or give me a good company at a reasonable price at a good level. I'm stalling so I can pull up Alphabet. There we go. I'm stalling. There we go. Alphabet, come on. At a reasonable valuation at the 200 period moving average. I was waiting for that to load, everybody. No, that'll vacuum some shares up at the 200 on Alphabet. I'm not vacuuming up Rivian shares because you don't want to get Nicola'd. Because I don't think Rivian is going under imminently, but Nikola, good thing it's still here because I could have called this up and it could have already been gone. I actually hadn't checked it this morning. No, like it's a different type of risk. The S&P 500 is not going anywhere. The NASDAQ's not going anywhere. Alphabet's not going anywhere. Meta's not going anywhere. Apple's not going anywhere. Rivian, it is possible. You know, and I'm not saying it's going to do a Nikola, but they just filed Chapter 11 this week. And that's what the chart looks like. Rivian's distinctly better, but I'm not vacuuming up a stock that looks like this. Vacuuming up the shorts is what the market has been doing, but I just noticed my stock doesn't want the low. It's double bottoming here on Rivian. So a little bit of a double bottom. Probably should respect that as the market's trying to hold the 22,000 level.
So if you see something like vacuuming it up, would you say that this price action sucks? I hear that often. I say that sometimes. I'm like, yo, this price action sucks. But no, it's just a joke there. Yeah, let's go through some of these. I wanted to show you guys my morning watch list here. This is something I've been doing a little bit more often now. Kind of my morning watch list used to be me messaging Wayne a bunch of tickers overnight, and in the morning just being like, these are my top ideas here. Yeah, Pepsi was very strong. Pepe, nice. Shout out to Wayne. It was very strong yesterday, so I was looking for that continuation. You can see we did get that continuation, but it happened a little bit in the pre-market, but gave that up. Palantir, strong close. Again, looking for that continuation. Did it come in? Not really. Strong flush to the lows. SMCI, I was looking for that 60 level to hold, and does it hold? Absolutely not. As of right now, we're trading 58.90s, and Meta as well. Meta, strong kind of trend here, back-to-back red days. Today we're getting a little bit of a consolidation, end of the week, understandable. Let's see if we can break some of those day lows there. It's coming in, but that continuation, again, if I was looking for selling below that 700, that selling's definitely coming in here on Meta. CELH, oh boy. that one, I was looking for a little bit of a gap give and go, a little bit of a pullback to hold on the bid. That did not happen at all, as the bids got slammed into right off of the open, and I was like, oh boy, didn't want to get stuck in that one there. But it's calmed down quite a bit as of right now. Intel on a bigger time frame held that 25 level pretty well. If you saw yesterday, Neil, Intel did a V-shaped recovery. Not only that, we aggressively bid up through the day's high going into the close there as well. So if you just played the end of day, last 20, 30 minute high a day breakout, you could have held that all the way into 410 there. So a little bit after the close, as the action still kind of bid up and into the pre-market as well. But as of right now, we're getting a bit of a pullback. But the question becomes, can we hold? Yeah, can we hold that 25? We're in a bit of a key area right now. TXN was really, really strong yesterday. I don't know if you've been watching this one, Neil, but very strong on the weekly as well as on the daily. Very, very strong this week in particular, but a bit of a consolidation at the end of the week as of right now on TXN. Starbucks. Oh boy, this one definitely a continuation there. I was looking at, okay, so this is a big miss. Okay, all right, it's a good thing I'm going through this right here, Neil. So I was looking at this top right here. So go up to a 15-minute, take that VWAP off the chart, and maybe even make this full screen here. You can see we've been kind of chopping and consolidating here underneath these 113 halves for quite a while, and I was looking for a did I not write technical breakout there? TBO, Starbucks, technical breakout. What happens right off of the open, Neil? Opening drive through that 115 halves. Oh boy, it takes you all the way to 114.45, so almost a point to the upside off of that technical breakout on Starbucks. A multi-day consolidation highs at that 113 half. So a little bit of a missed trade on my part on that one. That's definitely going to go down into the journal as a missed trade. Walmart earnings day 2. Let's see how they're doing. Strong selling on the earnings report, but look at that. Wow, right off of the open. Consolidation low. So the trade basically was on Walmart today. It made a tight range. All I'm looking for is the range break, and look how cleanly that range low from earnings day 1 cracks right off of the open. 96.70s, and then right off the open you get a little bit of a test of that 96.70 area, and then flushing down to 95. So yeah, a little bit of a pullback there on Walmart. And then we're looking at all the banks. So XLF, we can just take a look at that one there. Still trading within yesterday's range, XLF, so but still selling off of the open. Unity, we were all over that one there. Unity, beautiful, still coming into 28.70, still kind of holding some of these pre-market levels. Absolutely beautiful for the continuation off of the open. If you had it through the 29, through the 30, that worked out really, really well as we hit a high of 30.87, but then the bid kind of stepped off and sellers started stepping in, and that was a great opportunity to revert it not only back to VWAP, but break of trend on the daily as well, all the way back down to the lows. DBRG had earnings yesterday. I was looking for a continuation, another strong earnings name. Doesn't really do anything off of the open today, so that's perfectly fine. And STM is the last one. This thing, Neil, I don't know if you've been watching this one, but this thing came up on my scanners last night as a bit of strength, and look at that. Over the past couple of days, strong relative volume, strong trend over both Wednesday and Thursday, and today I was looking for more of the same. I know it's asking for a bit much on day 3, but again, still had it on the list, but not looking a little lackluster there. So that was my morning list. You can see that I had a lot of ideas. Only one of them worked really, really well, and that was the Starbucks.
But that's,
right?
You know what though?
That's usually what happens.
That's how it is.
That's usually how it is, Neil.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Like you have so many ideas. You have to be adaptive.
I had 12 things on my iPad.
Yes.
4 that go out of my tweet, and I've traded 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 stocks this morning. But a couple of things just happened now. We lost 22,000 on the NASDAQ. Tesla retested underneath 48 and just bounced off 45. Simultaneously to Tesla bouncing off 345, I got trailed out of Rivian, which maybe not a coincidence, but trailed out of Rivian here, the short off the 1320 level, just trailed out at 1270. So pretty much the exact same exit point on a bounce, double bottom on the Rivian short. So it's got the range twice, and it's about 1260 to 1320. But in the market, remember, with the market this week, this didn't actually break the low. So breaking down, did not break the low. Got to put that in the back of my mind that it might not be a reload at that triple top. What is also happening is CELH is back above VWAP and MLGO. So many times, I've been typing MGLO by accident a few times. MLGO continuing to run 350%. It is your small cap gapper. We always have to show this. I'll always pull up the daily chart just so you can get a sense of like how habitual is this for pullbacks. This it's done this multiple days in a row a few times. So post split, it'll run and break out for like 2 or 3 days and then revert. It's done this before. It'll run for 2 or 3 days. So this one's not as bad. I forget the other name we were talking about this morning where I pulled it up. It was like Holo, I think it was, HOLO. And you would have like one good day and then it would flush. This has done it usually for a couple of days in a row, which I like a little bit better. So I'm not chasing it or anything, but if you can hold on to the prior high on a dip or even just stay on trend, that would look a little bit nice. So you're getting a nice bounce in the futures. I think I want to look back over at NVIDIA, which is kind of following a long course. It's not at support yet at 137, but it hasn't broken so far away from 139 that I don't still like it here. So we played 140. I'll give a shot at this 139 as well if it reverts to trend. So if we can break the trend line, I'll go long off the 139 here on NVIDIA. And then, yeah, CLH it might break out. CLH, there's VWAP, there's that 33. It's the post-halt price, and it's back. So the order is going back in. We're going to see if we can't grab this CELH on the break.
Yeah, I think the CL it's came right back up into VWAP again. I have eyes on it. I'm kind of watching it, but the market's finally catching a little bit of a bid here as we approach the midday session, almost 11 o'clock as of right now. But yeah, I'm looking for the next trade. And if the market is going to bounce like this, where is the reversion? That's literally what I'm hunting for right now. What is the best vehicle to revert right now? Maybe it's the Spider. Spider, a bit of a low, 605.76 is on a 15-minute chart. Oh boy. So that prior 15-minute bar low, 605.76, current 15-minute bar low, Neil, with about 10 minutes left to print, is 605.78, about a 2 penny difference there. So have we bottomed? I have no idea. But a strong bid coming in at a bit of a flat bottom on a 15-minute, if you want to call it that there. So a sharp turn, if you want to call it that, off of a specific price on two consecutive candles there. Oh boy, I know what I missed for the reversion. Neil?
SMCI?
No, look at the chart over here, right here on my Intel chart right here, up in the right here.
Oh yeah, that's the one.
Off of that level once again.
No, I was going to say SMCI.
Oh boy.
So we are about to, and the reason I was saying I thought you were going to say SMCI because it pulled right into afternoon support and reverted even cleaner. So I know Obi well enough that I thought this was going to be the one he'd talk about on a reversion play. I'm liking NVIDIA in a couple of seconds here, but we're going to go to our guest of the day. We teed it up, and now let's lock it out of the park with Brendo.
For everyone, go back a couple of weeks here. Firefly up huge for a couple of days. I mean, it was a week-long rally. We talked about it almost every day on this. NVIDIA Connect program, accepting the company into it. We'll talk about that in a second. This comes out today then. Firefly Neurosciences up big time. It was more than 15% up here. A bit of a pullback right now, but 8.8 million in warrants being executed. We're lucky to have Greg Lipschitz, CEO and executive chairman of Firefly Neurosciences, joining us to talk about both. And it's great to have you, Greg. First off, welcome. First time on the show. So a lot to discuss. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, lots of action, lots of attention around the company. Let's start first with the NVIDIA deal. Give us a breakdown here. Tell us a little bit about it from a high level first, and then I want to really talk about the tech too.
Sure. Hey, guys. Good morning. Pleasure to be on here, and thanks so much for having me. Look, we're really excited about this partnership with NVIDIA. And so outside of the brand recognition and the credibility that they provide, we get access to world-class human capital and leading-class technology to help us build our models. And we're really excited about the future of this partnership and the future of Firefly.
And dive into that a little bit more. Let's talk about the technology specifically. What does that open up for Firefly on the NVIDIA side? What are you going to have access to that will really give the company that advancement and benefit that they've been looking for?
Yeah, for sure. Look, I think one of the most exciting things for us is we get access to their pool of talent. And so as our developers are putting together models of the brain and understanding the brain and cognition and disease states, we get guidance from world leaders who can really assist us. And look, we've worked with companies like Takeda and Novartis, and NVIDIA is kind of one of many companies I think you're going to see Firefly work with.
Fantastic. A lot of excitement still around the stock. Looking forward, I guess, what doors would this open as far as getting the name out there? For one, a lot of name recognition, obviously, just tied to the NVIDIA deal. What do you see as far as maybe future opportunities because of this coming?
Sure. Happy to talk about that. So as Firefly's perspective, we basically spent the last kind of 10 years and $80 million getting to where we are today to get our FDA clearance. And so as we kind of continue to get data and understand the brain, where we're at now is sort of this exciting point where we're kind of onboarding more customers to our platform. And so this allows us to kind of expedite that growth. And so I think what you'll see is the ability for us to add more pharma companies to our platform and also add more clinics to our platform.
Shoring up the financial side then today with this announcement this morning that comes out as we showed there, 8.8 million in warrants executed, stocks up again. Lots of people getting eyes back on it once again. What does this mean as far as the financing side is concerned?
Yeah, for sure. So the way to look at Firefly is the heavy CapEx items are behind us. So, it took us $80 million in 10 years to build a database, prove out our algorithms, and get the FDA clearance. And so what this capital allows us to do is really, it's used for growth capital to expand our clinics and pharma partnerships. So this balance sheet now that we have gives us well into 2026. And I think why it's important for investors is because when you generally invest in biotech, it's extremely expensive and there's a high degree of risk of whether or not you'll get FDA clearance. And I think the way that people should look at us is like we already have our FDA clearance and all the heavy CapEx items are behind us. So we're a platform company. We're the picks and shovels to pharma. So we can work with any company on any disease state. So as I mentioned, we've worked with Takeda, Novartis, and Bright Minds as well. And so I think what you can see is, we now have a very strong balance sheet and the ability for us to execute. And I think the market's, well received it today, which is exciting. And I think what you can start to see is and expect from us is, we'll be using this capital to execute, onboard more customers, and hopefully increase our revenue significantly.
A lot of people still with eyes on today, AIFF for anyone looking for the symbol over on the NASDAQ. Again, that's the headline from this morning. Firefly Neurosciences up big time. 8.8 million worth of warrants executed. Greg Lipchitz, CEO and Executive Chairman of Firefly Neurosciences. Great to talk, first off, and come back and give us another update in the future.
Sounds great. Thanks so much for having me on the show.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you so much to Greg, and shout out to Firefly. I appreciate you. It's always, everyone knows all about NVIDIA. That's always going to be good. We did show this, and I'll show it again. I know, obviously, a lot of times the CEO is not going to want to go on about the good performance of the stock and not want to brag about it, which is fair, and I think that's level-headed as well. But up 17% today. And if we always talk about like mean reverts, there it is. Bounced off that support, broke trend, and headed higher. But a couple of things are happening right now. Celsius finally broke.
Yes.
But it's not going. So I got in, trimmed, got back in. I'm just going to give it a bit of a wider stop, I think. I think I didn't necessarily love the price action on the first break. I got in, I think I got in like 8 or something like that, and decided to trim it just underneath 33, and then it came back and broke the top again. I'll at least give it to the prior bar high, which I think just for a little bit more room. It's taken a while to get here, but I still feel on a breakout trade, you really got to let it go or give it some room to go, but it should work right away. That's the idea for the trade. And then I'm going to go over quickly to SMCI and Palantir. SMCI powered into VWAP, a little bit of a reversion back through VWAP in here as well. So looking incredibly strong, however. Like, it just bounced off of 60 pretty nice. I'm going to get a bit in front of 60 as well there. And then Palantir, which we had just little tight stop reload. It's not a huge trend line. I don't think I want to respect it that much, but if you connect it there to there, it had held, got in, it gave it about 15 pennies, which is not a lot of risk, but it wasn't an A+ setup there on Palantir, so you either take less or risk less, whichever one is your cup of tea. That's what I went with. A little bit more room giving Celsius to this break. The market is still holding the bid, but it's worth noting, as we've made a bottom here on the NASDAQ, you're still not breaking the 22,000. So the 22,000 turning into a little bit of a wall. These are yesterday's lows, effectively like the bottom end of the range. So it's still a pretty bearish day overall here in the markets that we should respect. That said, Celsius is trying to go, and the good thing about Celsius is a squeeze name doesn't necessarily care what the market is doing.
No.
You know, like Celsius, if it wants to go to 34, it can just do it, and the market could bleed for the rest of the day, and it could decide to go on a squeeze. So hopefully they like this Alani acquisition enough, which I saw in the chat a few people mentioning. It's a very popular brand. I had never heard of it before, but the acquisition they're making, a big part of why it's gapping up here, wasn't just about the earnings for them.
Yeah, I think another ticker here, a bit of a missed opportunity on my part is Block. Again, Block with the earnings as well.
Yeah.
And would you look at that, Neil? Absolutely beautiful here. I can already tell it rejected anchored right off of the open, so I don't even need to throw it on. But yeah, right there.
You know what
so
sucks?
Rejection of that anchored, rejection of 76. What sucks?
We didn't have free locates on it.
Oh, we don't have borrows?
No.
Oh boy.
I did try to punch this one this morning, and
All right.
and it was in the moment that I tried to hit it. Because remember, Block came into the pre-market high, and I tried to punch short and realized we didn't have the locates on it. I'm not shorting at the low, but
yeah, no. What a continuation is what I'm saying. Like,
preparation matters, everybody. Of
course.
Preparation matters.
Yeah, and you have the market tailwind, right? That makes it even stronger. If I'm already looking for the continuation here on Block, and I'm looking for that anchored VWAP to hold, I'm looking for that pullback in, and then continuation. And the market is doing what I'm looking for on this specific ticker as well. Oh boy, that definitely is a factor of confluence, and maybe warrants some more size, maybe warrants maybe a little bit more precision as well, and maybe some chasing. So yeah, absolutely wild continuation there on XYZ. I like it. I like their name change. You know,
You like that?
It's a little nerdy. I like it. Because XYZ,
no, I know
the
it's
three
dimensions.
axes.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
And it's a block.
I don't.
You know,
it's a horrible ticker.
Yeah.
Why should you put any barrier? You don't want to put up a barrier for, I don't know, say people that are talking about the market to not talk about your stock, or forget the name, or make an accident pulling it up, or I don't know, just keep it simple. And also, it's 11 o'clock, everybody. So shout out and thank Obi for filling in for Sean, who, trust me when I tell you, he was, he's putting in work yesterday to be here. I think everyone could tell. He hates missing the market. Obi, thank you for filling in. We'll be back at 2 o'clock, but right now you got a midday treat. Why? Because joining Sharif, the professor, we've got a DARA for how to trade. So go get him, everybody.
See ya.
Oh boy.
What is up, beautiful people? I am not Greg Lipschitz, nor
am
is
I.
she.